I'm doing good. How are you guys?
We're doing excellent. We're doing excellent. Um, Good to have you. I guess you
Mm.
are from the U.S.
Yes, yes,
Okay. All right. Good. I got thrown off there
mm.
by the name a little bit, so forgive me.
Yes, okay, yes, you did.
Okay. So, quick rundown of what we do here on Back
Mm,
to Different on Top FM 105.3.
mm,
Um, we begin the show by way of introduction of the panelist, and then I'm going to give it back to Veteran Smith. And I'm not sure how the arrangement is going to go as far as introduction is concerned, but
mm,
usually he reads the bio. So I'll leave it up to him to decide what he's going to do. And then once he's done, we'll come to you, and then you'll probably introduce yourself, and then we'll begin the conversation.
okay.
It is my understanding that you're going to be with us just for the first half of the show. So
I mean,
usually,
if you need me to stay until the end, I can do that too. You know.
okay. Um, Maybe we can reschedule that because the veteran Smith that he got another panel. I'm sorry, another guest for the
Yeah,
second
no,
half.
no problem, no problem.
So it's good that we have you now. We can bring you back
Mhm,
whenever
mhm,
you are free. So that's
mhm.
just a rundown. So while we're on, other panelists are going to join us, and when they join us, they'll do the same thing to introduce themselves to you, and then we'll continue with the conversation. Having
Okay.
said that, I am Archie Wright. I'm going to be your co-host um, for today's program. I'd like to welcome you once again to A Beg to Differ on one of 5.3. We stream live on Facebook, YouTube, on the radio station in Zwedru City, Granger County, in the southeastern part of Liberia. And we're also live on our website, www.topfm.com. At this time, I will now pass you over to Veteran Smith, who has introduced himself. And then if he wants to read your bio, that's fine. Then he will give it off to you, and then we'll begin from there. Veteran Smith.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. My name Fred Smith, but they call me Fred, the veteran Smith. Been in the business for quite a while. I'm in Trenton, New Jersey, and I spent a lot of time in the media in Liberia, BBC, and others. And so we are privileged to have our special guest tonight. I heard of him at the recent spirituality conference held at Essex College in Newark, New Jersey. So let me just go straight into his bio and why he's here and what he will focus on. Uh, we have Okomfo, he's a Akon priest, Yahans Ya Beckham Beduako. I hope I pronounced his name correctly. Is a traditional Akon priest from the Ghanaian tradition of West Africa. He has been studying the Akon tradition for 20 years. In 20 years, in 2016, Okafor Yahans was initiated into the priesthood and trained for 6 years in the Akan traditions under the teaching of Okamfuhin Nana Yarinkiyi, the head Okamfu or spirit of Central Ubusan Fi Shan House. Okamfu Yahans has traveled to many countries in Africa like Senegal, Gambia, Mauritania, Liberia, and Ghana. He has had opportunity to study under the scholars such as Dr. Youssef Ben Johanna, Dr. John H. Clark, Dr. Jacob Karutos, Dr. George Simmons, Amon Williamson, Dr. Nain Abba, just to name a few. Okofo Yohannes finished school at Tuskegee University in Tuskegee, Alabama, in the field of architecture. He also have done extensive study in African history and the condition globally of African people. So, just a brief uh, uh, background of you, our special guest today, and the topic would be the Akan tradition. And so, welcome to the show, Dr. Okamfa Yahans, Dia Beckham Bediako, if I pronounce your name correctly. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. I bet to differ. So maybe you can bet to differ if I did not pronounce your name correctly. And you can tell me you pronounce it correctly and tell me how you got that name.
Okay. My name is Okonfo, which is a priest in the Khan tradition. Yohanse Yao Bakan Bediako. I got the name when I was being I was a part of an organization when I was at Tuskegee University. And at Tuskegee University, we got African names, and that's how I got Yohanse. Then after we graduated from Tuskegee, me and my friends, we started looking in African traditions. We looked in several of them. Ifa, obviously, everybody was hyped about the Kemetic tradition. And then we came across the Khan tradition out of a group called Ankobia in in DC. And we were very impressed with the way that the Akan tradition in the United States was practiced. So we started to submerge ourselves and connect to the Akan tradition at that time. And from that time on, which was about 1993, about that time on, we've been studying and dealing with the Akan tradition. And that's how I got the name Yao Bediako. And then when in 2016, when I got initiated into the priesthood, as a part of the priesthood, they make the name kind of official in how Ghanaian people will name people. And part of that is they also, Yao is a day name. So Yao means Thursday. So I was born on a Thursday, but I was also the number one position trainee. I was the first trainee for Nana Okonfohene Yao Yarenchi that year. I was the first trainee, so I got the name Bakan, which means first or number one. So my name became Yohanse Yao Bakan Bediako. And Bediako means like a person that are always trying to fight battles for good. So that's how I got the name. I've been, as I stated in the conference when I did the presentation, I always like to make sure everybody understand I am unapologetically African. I can care less about what any group of people have said or think about African people. I am African. And I see the world through the eyes of an African man. I don't try to see it in any other fashion because no other group of people do that, right? The Jews don't try to see the world universally. They see the world only in the context of what and how it benefits Jewish people. And when it don't benefit Jewish people, they have a problem with it. And Asian people see it the same way. So I'm an African. So for anyone to see me and think that I am going to be universal around my belief or what I think or how I perceive, that's a mistake. I'm an African, and the world of Africa and the people of Africa and of African descent is at the foremost and at the front of everything that I do. All right. So that's a part of what I, that's like a part of my background and how I am. We want to talk about what I actually wanted to really talk about.
Mr. Gedeh, cool. If you don't mind, I got one question to ask you before we go forward.
Yes.
You say your name is Bakan.
Bakan. Yes.
I'm also Bakan, and
That's
the way you yes, I am. So I'm also I took the name after my grandfather. He was called Bakan. And the way you said it is understood, that's exactly how it is in my tribe as well. So welcome to the show, man.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see somebody who share the same name like me.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, and this is what's important also. There is a lot of us from the United States that's adopting and practicing African culture and African tradition. And one of the more important parts that we should do, we don't always do, and that is to seek to learn the language and learn how to speak the language, because culture rides on the expression in language. You learn the language, you'll start to learn to understand why those particular group of people do what they do, because language is the identification of your experience, right? If you haven't experienced it, you're not going to have a word for it in your language, right? So the language, it helps us get a better understanding of the culture. And that's what I started to do. And plus my teacher is from Ghana. So I'm constantly trying to submerge myself in the language. By next year this time, probably before next year this time, but by next year this time, I will be speaking Tree fluently. And that's the part of it. We have to learn those languages, and so that's what I do. And I try to learn how to say the words with the tone and the sound in which the people say it. And because that's that's how we get clarity about what we're doing. So, but what I wanted to talk about more so than just the spirituality of a Khan, I wanted to talk about how colonization and oppression has affected African spirituality and culture. And so as I do that, I will also kind of talk about how the Akan people see spirituality and their expression of spirituality. Does that okay for everyone? I just wanted to make sure. Okay. So let's start like this. Colonization, oppression / white supremacy is a global system. It is a global system that has literally taken over the world and has affected almost every aspect, every part of the globe, right? There is a author in the United States called Neely Fuller Jr., one of the very few people that actually talks about and gives us a definition and understanding of white supremacy. He wrote a book called The Compensatory Guide of Thought and Action for victims of white supremacy slash racism. I think that's the name of it. But his name is Neely Fuller Jr. You can look that up on YouTube and find the book. When you open the first page of his book, when you just open the front cover, right there on the first page, he makes a statement. And that statement is, if you do not understand white supremacy slash racism, what it is and how it works, then everything you think you know will only confuse you, right? And this is important because this system that is called white supremacy, that is global, has affected the life and the way and the thinking of the majority of the world, right? It has been a system that has destroyed or came close to destroying African cultures and has affected all other cultures, right? Neely Fuller Jr. goes into explaining, because we have to understand what white supremacy is and how it works. So then what is white supremacy? And he defines it as 1/10 of the world's population classifying themselves as white, controlling the other 9/10 of the world's population that is classified as people of color. In the 10, it was originally, it was 9. Then Dr. Welsing, a good friend of Neely Fuller's, added a 10th one. So controlling the 10 major areas of human activity. Those 10 major areas are education, economics, entertainment, labor, law, politics, war, sex, religion, and Dr. Welsing added health. So when we look at that and we look at how white supremacy has controlled all of these 10 major areas of human activity for us as African people, then we come to understand that they control our understanding of reality. What is good, what is bad, what is righteous, what is unrighteous, what is productive, what is unproductive. And this becomes a system and a programming that is in our minds, and a struggle intellectually, mentally, consciously, and spiritually that we have to struggle with and overcome, right? So what becomes then Western culture, white society's most powerful weapon against the oppressed? And it's not his tanks, his guns, his bombs, his CIA, his FBI, his MI6, or that's not his power. His power is his ability to make us think that his thoughts, his ideas, and how he see the world is our own thoughts, our ideas, and how we see the world. So what starts to happen is we then start to approach life and think about life in the same way that he does, which then causes us to not look at how our ancestors and what our culture and what our society teaches us to look at life. And we start to then approach the world with a characteristic trait and a personality of Western society. Now this is a very deep system, global system that the European has created, right? The European has created a system that has affected us at a deep conscious level. But they understood that they will not be able to control us forever. So they understood that we were going to start to wake up. So what they did was the plan was to implement a psychological process that even in your attempt to wake up, they will still be the dominant perspective in how you will wake up. And I'm going to give an example of that. So during the times of the early beginnings of our oppression, of our colonization, of our enslavement, there's a psychological process where they program us to not connect common practical information with common sense. They severed that connection. And so when we don't connect the knowledge that we understand, the conditions and the situations that we're in with common sense. So since we don't do that, it becomes difficult for us to be able to think and come up with solutions on how to really fight oppression, colonization.
So Dr. Priest, me pronounce your name correctly.
You can just say Brother Johanse. That's easy.
Oh, Brother Johansen, Priest, Brother Johansen. How is the Akan culture or spirituality can help us get back on track, since what you have stated, we have lost sense of our spirituality? How can we get back?
Good. That's very important, right? Now, this is a struggle. This isn't just a struggle for Akan people and Akan spirituality. This is a struggle for people in Nigeria with Ifa and their spirituality. This is the struggle for brothers and sisters in the Congo and their spirituality. This is a struggle for all parts of Africa and their spirituality. You know, the first thing that we have to do is to decolonize our mind and say to ourselves, no matter how we feel, we got to say to ourselves, I am going to respect my culture no matter what it says. No matter what it says do, I'm going to respect it. And if it says something that I don't agree with, right? Hold on for a moment. Something is happening with my computer. Can y'all still see me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So if it says something that I don't agree with, what I am going to do is I'm going to think about the principles of morality and good character and solve that issue from that. You see what I'm saying? Because we we're not perfect. So there's some mistakes that we have made in our culture. So our culture is not going to be just this perfect thing. So we got to do that, but we still got to respect it, right? Europeans are majority Christian. Christianity says that Greek and Roman culture are pagans. You don't see the Europeans giving up Greek and Roman culture. And by no stretch of the imagination are they giving up Greek and Roman culture, even though the behavior and the cultural expression of Greek and Roman is against their spiritual belief system. And this is what we have to do in Africa. We have to first say, I am going to reconnect to my culture regardless of what it says. And I am going to authentically study my culture. I am going to authentically practice it and bring it back into my life on a day-to-day basis. You know, we got to know the deities of in the Akan tradition. We have to know the deities of the Akan. We got to understand who they are and why they're the way they are. and give them that respect, right? On a day-to-day, we can sit in Western culture and watch them make movies of Thor and watch them make movies about Zeus and all of them, and not one Christian complain about the praising and the worshiping of a paganistic deity. Not one. No one has come out against Marvel for having Thor as a superhero. No one. So then we should make superheroes in our story of Shango. We should make superheroes in our story of Akwejibi, which is the priest. I'm a priest of Akwejibi. We should do that, right? And that's one of the ways that but it's going to be very hard. And we got to fight. And those of us that are trying to do it, we gotta stand up. We got to stand up. We got to speak. We don't need to speak like real aggressively or anything like that. We just got to speak like when someone talks about Christianity. And if you're in Ghana, let me give you an example. In Ghana, I have a driver. He just loves to drive me. When I come into Ghana, all I do is call him and he comes and pick me up. So, but he is Christian, right? And on his car, he has this praying image of these hands, right? So I looked and I said, whose hands are those? And he was like, oh, yeah, that's Jesus' hands. I was like, that's not no Jesus hands. And he was like, yes, that's Jesus' hands. I said, no, it's not Jesus' hands. And he was like, how do you know it's not Jesus' hands? I said, because it's white. And Jesus is not a white man, right? So I quote the scripture in Revelations, hair like lamb's wool. I said, this is what your book says Jesus looks like, right? I was like, so really, you with those white hands on your windshield is blasphemy, because that's not Jesus, right? So,
Brother Bacon,
yes,
I want to jump in right here.
Yes.
Before the rest of the crew comes in, I'll be struggling to get my question in.
Right.
So, in the beginning, you talk about, you and your colleague look into various African tradition and cultures.
Right.
As a Liberian, I find it very right, if you like that,
Yes.
to ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys at any time try to look into ending culture or tradition within Liberia? Did that ever cross your mind? Or was this something that ever came about in your conversation? And I ask the question because a lot of the scholars that you talk about,
Mm-hmm.
They talk about Liberia, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if any country in Africa that ever have a profound relationship with African Americans, it should be Liberia.
Yes.
Right. So
yes.
I think it is fair to ask a question. Did it ever cross your mind and say, hold here, our folks went down to Liberia,
Mm-hmm.
to look into the culture and see if we can connect to it. Did you guys ever thought about that?
That's interesting. No, we didn't. But that's and that's interesting, because that's kind of universal among us that are African centered, that are trying to we have not looked at Liberian culture now. And it's probably really a bad statement for me and my friends, because we graduated from Tuskegee University.
Right.
And there is a Tuskegee University in Liberia.
Yes.
Right.
We call it BWI.
Yes, it's a Tuskegee University in it's Tuskegee Institute, because Booker T. Washington,
exactly,
when he established it in Liberia. Tuskegee was Tuskegee Institute at the time. So that should have been something that I look at. But it's really interesting. The African cultures that are in the United States are in the United States from different groups of people going to Africa and making that connection. Like one of the other traditions that I think is probably growing popularity, but one of our scholars that just recently passed a few weeks ago, Dr. Charles Finch. Dr. Charles Finch went to Senegal, and he got initiated in the traditions in Senegal. I think it's called Gedeh, and he brought that back to the United States. And so there are people doing that. We need somebody to go and do some research on the tradition of Liberia. And particularly because of the relationship that we African Americans have with Liberia. We need to do that. I was in Liberia in 2016. It was right after I got initiated. I then traveled to Liberia to I think it's Banga. I think I went to Banga, Liberia. And it's interesting. My experience whenever I go to Africa is consistently the same. Everybody is like, welcome back, welcome home, and all of this and things. But there's one thing in Liberia that really stood out for me was their rites of passage process is like still functioning. I think the girls' rites of passage is called Sunday, and the men is Poro. And while I was there, I saw the girls walking down the street, and I was like, who are they? And they was like, oh, those are the Sunday girls. They're going to their, and I was like, man, I was like, really? Now, I don't think the brothers and sisters value that process as much as I think they should. But again, that's the result of oppression and how oppression has worked. And so, but I valued it because of where I'm coming from as an African American that wants to reconnect with ancestral knowledge and culture. They were young, and it was just a very wonderful sight to see.
Yeah, and I have to say, Brother Bakan, that I really appreciate the comment that you just made about looking into Liberian tradition and culture, because we do have our government right now is trying very hard to grab the attention of the African American brothers and sisters in America, and we're trying hard to make the case. Hey, man, we're right here. I know you go to Ghana, you go to Nigeria and Senegal. We're right here too.
Because right now, I think Ghana is the strongest connection. Yes. Ghana is the strongest connection. But I'm telling you, I am going to start talking to my people, and I'm like, we need to study the tradition out of Liberia.
Yes.
Because they definitely know, I knew about the Sunday women's rights and the Poro before I even went to Africa my first time. Yeah. So my thing is, if we're going to sit and promote part of the culture, we need to go and learn all of the culture. Yes. We need to go and learn it. So I agree with you. I think I'm definitely going to be pushing that
Thank you.
among my friends and my people to try to get somebody to then investigate the indigenous spiritual tradition in Liberia.
Thank
Uh,
you. And,
I
and
think that's
we do have one of our panelists by the name of Miata Stellan Harris. Come on, help me. What's her last name again? Gosh, this is shameful. Anyway, but well, she takes people from America and bring them over to Africa. So
Mhm.
I'm just trying to make this connection with her. So if there's something you guys are willing to do, I know you say you go to Liberia sometimes, but she
Yeah,
is in that kind of her, business. So you might want to, we can have a connect with you, and you
yeah,
guys can do the
yeah.
thing. But
Definitely do that because I also have a friend that does travel. He has a travel business, and they went all over the world, and they're always going to spots in Africa. Like their next trip that's coming up this summer is to Madagascar. So she connects with me, and we'll talk with him, and we can plan an actual research trip, to
yes, yes,
Liberia, not to go there to tour, to look. No, we're going to reconnect. We're going to look for some traditional people, and we're going to learn about African tradition, spiritual tradition that comes out of Liberia. And I think that is something that we can do. I'm gonna talk to him. Shoot, I need to actually text him and let him know that I'm speaking. He's gonna probably be upset that I didn't tell him. But yes, this is this is a deal. A lot of this that you're talking, like your question particularly about Liberia, is also a result of what our controlling uh uh oppression has been about, right? Because Ghana with Nkrumah, so everybody's ooh Ghana, and things like that. But Liberia has the strongest connection, you know. So I agree. I think that's something, and I think Liberia needs us more than any other African country.
amen to that, brother. Amen. Amen to that. Amen.
Because when
Amen.
I mean, when I was there, I was like, wait a minute, this is Liberia? I was like, okay, what's going on here? And I think Liberia needs, first, they need African Americans to come there and redirect the historical experience, right? Because even though we were sent there back in the 1800s, that experience didn't turn out really well. Because I think a part of the infighting issues, historical issues in Liberia, was between this dichotomy of Africans born on the continent in Liberia and these Africans coming from America. And I think we might have brought in a little bit of that uh classism, caste thing with us. And there was some uh very dichotomy issues that has happened. And I think that is at the root of a lot of the struggle and the infighting in Liberia that has happened. And we as African Americans that now understand and know better should come to try to help heal that wound, which I think we can do.
And I like this the way you s- change the subject on Liberia, the importance of Liberia.
Mhm.
Now, I want you to go to beside the American Colonization Society. Uh, there were other key African American to take our brothers and sisters to Liberia. Our
Mm,
brothers that came from the Caribbean,
mhm,
who wanted to take
mhm.
to me, I say the best of African American to Liberia,
Yes.
but he didn't make it
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they put a charge on him. Can you help her understand? Because I
Yeah.
always think if he had landed in Liberia,
Mm.
Liberia would be quite different today, and Africa would be quite different today. Why you think he did not go?
You're talking about Gabby, isn't it?
Yes. So that's yeah, that's
Marcus
Marcus.
Garvey.
That's Marcus Garvey. Now that's very interesting, right? Because one of my uncles was a soldier in the UNIA. Right. I have a picture of him on my ancestor shrine in his uniform. But it yes, it's unfortunate, and I totally agree with you. It's unfortunate that Marcus Garvey never got a chance to go to Africa. If he had a gone to Liberia, if he had a gone to Liberia and had that experience, I think the the context in Liberia would be different, because you got to understand he had over 1 million members in the UNIA, and a lot of them were in Liberia, right? So if he had a gone to Liberia and
The
I think
network.
he's yeah, I think he's frozen on his end.
Mm.
Man, just when he got the real juicy part of what hotel. There was somebody talking about Gabi, man. You know, it gets to me. Yeah. So what we're
Let
going
me
to do,
see.
we're going to push him out so that he comes back.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
you need to come by real quick. No, but just like you, Veteran Smith,
Yeah.
many scholars asked that same question you just asked.
Mm-hmm.
What if? What if Garvey had landed in Liberia? What if Garvey had landed in Liberia? Well, Africa, it would have transformed Africa completely. Yes.
And the best of our people, millionaires, African American, shipbuilders, all the craft they were going to bring to Liberia. That's what made me to ask this question.
Yeah.
All the best were coming to Liberia.
Yeah. I mean, look at what it did with a little bit of, little place like a BWR. BWR. Imagine if Garvey itself has landed, had landed in Liberia. What he would have done. He pressing on the soil. I mean, the book is clear. The guy spelled everything out. The colony he was asking for in Maryland. How they gotten it. Yeah, veteran, you want to reach out to him so he can come back? I hope, a computer, his connection is okay, man. Yeah. But how Garvey, gotten into Liberia, our educational system would not be what it is today. We would have industrialized, like you said, all the shipbuilders, all the business-minded people, the academics, all of them would have followed through. I mean, from the rest of the diaspora, they would have come to Liberia. Liberia would not be in the same position it is today. That is undeniable, fact-proof evidence. Yes.
That's true. That's true. And we would never know that part of how Liberia or Africa, because we never got a chance to experience it.
Yeah.
But we who are students of history will always ask that question.
Yes. Yes. What if? What if he had landed in okay, he's back.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Okay.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
He's moving. So, oh man.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there you
Yeah.
go.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You're
Hello?
back. You're back. You're back strong.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I don't know what happened, so but I'm back.
So
But
just hit it.
well,
Just hit the subject.
we were talking about yeah,
Marcus Garvey.
yeah. So we were talking about Marcus Garvey. So yes, Marcus Garvey, he created the largest African organization in modern history. There is no organization that has had that many people as a member.
The world over.
And yes, the world, there's none. There's nowhere on the planet where African people are that created an organization as large as his, which to white folks is extremely frightening, right? Extremely frightening. And he has the ability to influence people globally on a mass level. And so he was constantly dealing with attacks and things from the white establishment, as well as African people that were sellouts, for other word, that was also attacking him. And so what winds up happening is he gets deported from the United States back to Jamaica, and he was constantly fighting this threat because, he had bought these boats that was going to take Black folks back to Liberia, back and forth, that was going to take Black folks back and forth to Liberia. Now, a lot of people think that he didn't know what he was doing, and he brought these boats that were, damaged and all of that. No, there were infiltrators, people that was a part of his organization that was sabotaging the boats. And so so the boats never really got launched like it should have been. And if he had been able to do that, can you imagine the difference in which Liberia would be now if he was able to have gone to Liberia, made that connection, brought other Africans from the United States to Liberia? That would have been a totally different thing, and Liberia would look totally different now. Totally different. But because he was in a battle, white folks, this was back in early 1900s. This man buys two boats that he's going to travel back and forth to Africa, and so he was really under a lot of battles, he had to fight a lot of battles, and it's very interesting. And being the head of an organization that was of so many people, he's one of the very few leaders that there is no scandal of him stealing money, him doing anything, inappropriate with money. There are other people in his organization that were doing that, but he never did, and then me mentioning Booker T. Washington, because Booker T. Washington was traveling back and forth to Liberia, which is another thing. And he wanted to connect with Booker T. Washington, but Booker T. Washington passed away before he got there. Now, here it is. You got two of the most prestigious Black leaders in American history, and both of them have this relationship with Liberia. Can you imagine? Booker T. Washington had brought his do for self concept to Liberia. This is what he was teaching. And he brings his do for self concept with Liberia. And if he had connected with Marcus Garvey, whose slogan was Africa for the Africans at home and abroad, oh my God, that would have been a totally different thing. That'd be a totally different thing. So that is the context of Marcus Garvey and why he never really got the chance to get to Africa. Because white folks just couldn't let that happen. They didn't let that happen. You know.
Let me bring you back the priest Hans. So an important part that happened recently, the African burial ground in New York.
Yeah.
And the Ghana president coming to give a speech with New York mayor who was born in Uganda, and then going to the United Nations to pass perspective.
Yes.
Put all of that into perspective. The burial ground for Africans going to the United Nations. Put all of that into perspective that happened recently.
All right. So now you're looking at the mayor of New York, who is from Africa, right? From Uganda, right? And the president from the country in Ghana, from the country in Africa that has the most dungeons there. There are more dungeons in Ghana than there are in any other country in Africa. So he comes to New York and he is connecting to this other brother that is in New York from from Africa. And our burial ground, I forgot what year it was that we made that into a museum and a monument. And he attends and goes to this burial ground because his country was the largest group of Africans that were stolen because they got the most dungeons. You know, because that was the Gold Coast. So, Europeans was in Ghana dealing with that gold, you know. So he comes to, and he realizes this relationship through this extremely inhumane behavior in human history. So from this connection that he's dealing with, and the fact that when he's home, he sees all of these dungeons, that is a representation of this atrocity. So when he steps in the UN, it's on like popcorn. He's like, no, look, this is the most horrific experience any human beings have ever experienced in history. And y'all did it. And it's time for you to be accountable and responsible for this horrific condition that the remnants of it is still being experienced today. Right? And this is what he takes to the UN, and this is what he's talking about in the UN. One of the very few African presidents that has done this, right? Benin's president has actually stepped up and even apologized for Benin's participation in the slave trade. But we're not gonna get confused or distracted with that. Benin didn't create the market. Benin didn't create the market for enslaving human beings, right? So yeah, Benin, you participated in, but we're not getting distracted like you are the creator and the fashioner and the developer and the expander of this human trafficking. Yes, we accept your apology, but by no stretch of the imagination are we going to excuse white folks from being accountable and responsible for creating the demand for human trafficking, right? And this is what is there.
Complete your thought. Complete your thought, please.
Yeah, this is what the president of Ghana is saying, and this is what he's doing. It's time for you to be accountable. It's time for you to be responsible, and we are about to deal with you if you don't. And that's what he's saying, and and it's very interesting because he definitely got the backing of the majority of us in the United States. The issue is the hope is that he'll have the backing from the other African countries on the continent.
True.
Yeah.
All right. Veteran Smith, we are halfway through the show. So, but let me. So, our next guest is watching the show, and he wanted me to ask you this question, Brother Bakan. He is saying you talk about Marcus Garvey. Can you explain? Let the guest explain why stop Mr. Garvey's from coming to Liberia. Why did Marcus Garvey did not come to Liberia? Our next guest, Dr. Toa, wants to understand that.
Yes. When Marcus was first it was the United States government dealing with his movement and his travel, right? Because they didn't allow him to travel, right? His passport. And eventually they deport him back to Jamaica. And by the time he gets deported back into Jamaica, his financial ability and capability is nowhere near as strong as it was when he was in the United States with a fully functioning 1 million membership organization. And so his struggle to be able to actually make that travel back to back to Liberia was much more difficult. At the same time, while he's still, because he's in Jamaica, the government didn't stop attacking him, right? And the government didn't stop attacking him. I think though, I think that is probably another deep study we need to find out. From what I know, because I did an independent study of Marcus Garvey when I was at Tuskegee, and all of the stuff that I understood and what I read and what I saw in my report was his constant battle that he had to deal with. Because just because they sent him to Jamaica, it didn't stop him from being the leader he was. Because now he got Jamaicans all, stepping up. So he's battling the United States government. He's battling secretly even the issues of people in his own government in Jamaica, and where they will allow him to go. Okay. So this is a constant struggle.
Maybe I need to
1 second, Mr. Nubo. Mr. Nubo, yes. I was coming to you, sir. Welcome to the show. Please introduce yourself to the guests, and if you have any questions, you can ask them, please. Okay. I still get Mrs. Okay.
I'm George Nubo. I'm one of the panelists here on this show. Sorry for coming late. For coming after you have already appeared. The Garvey issue, Marcus Garvey issue, is complicated. Garvey was given land from Plibo Sorokan district. They call the place Gedeh. my district in Liberia.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a fight between Du Bois and Garvey.
Most
And
definitely, yes.
Liberian Independence Day celebration, where Du Bois went to Liberia during King administration, went to Liberia and said that talking that Liberia was building a nation and not a race.
Okay, Mr. Nuba, let me hold you right
Mhm.
there. Mr. Nuba, let me hold you right there, please.
Okay.
I want to say, Brother Bakam, we're going to have you for the rest of the program. Is that okay with you?
Oh, that's fine. That's fine with me.
Excellent, excellent.
Mhm.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Nuba.
Yes, that's fine with me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. So that's how
Okay.
Gavin or CDB King was the president at that time of Liberia. That's why Gavin did not go to Liberia. Because, as you said, even though he was deported, but the American government was still after him. So
Mhm.
he didn't go. When he died, Tubman was president. William V.S. Tubman of Liberia made Gavin Widow Liberian ambassador to Guinea. That I know of.
Mhm.
So no, I know it's more about the Gavin story. Yeah, that's all
Mhm.
I wanted to add to your explanation, because I
Yeah.
came and I did not get the full story of what you explained of your lecture on the show. Are you from Ghana?
No, sir. I'm from the United States. I was
Oh,
just
okay.
initiating. I was just
Okay.
initiating training in Ghana.
Okay. Thank you.
Let me. Can I add something to what you're saying? That you brought up a
Yes.
point that was very important.
Certainly.
Yes. Marcus Garvey was in a very real, deep negative discussion and interaction with W.E.B. Du Bois.
Right.
And W.E.B. Du Bois was also in a negative discussion and reaction with Booker T. Washington.
Mm-hmm.
Now, remember, Marcus Garvey was trying to connect with Booker T.
Yes.
Both of them were dealing with Liberia.
Uh-huh.
And at the time, and the whole discussion was typical what the discussion about. Marcus Garvey was about us do for self, and W.E. Du Bois was about this intellectual, talented tenth. And Marcus Garvey was like, that's not going to build nothing. And the misunderstanding of Booker T. Washington is Booker T was not saying we did not need intellectuals. He was just saying that we still need to build as much as we need to think.
Right.
So my school that I'm developing is going to teach thinkers and builders, right? And building is going to be the main thing that we do. We need to know how to build the nation. Booker T's thing was, we don't have to be with white people. All we got to deal with white folks is around money. Outside of that, we can do for ourselves, right? This is what Booker T. Washington was about. And Marcus Garvey was like, yes, we can do for ourselves. And at the time, I think W.E.B. Du Bois was very much so, had a really relationship with a lot of white institutions and white people. He eventually grew out of that over time, but that earlier stage of his life, I think he was, that intellectual thing. We gotta learn, and we gotta be as smart as white people in the same capacity, in the same way. And we need Black people to think, and that is just wasn't what Garvey was about. And I think that argument between them, because there's the argument between the intellectuals and the nation builders, helped white people get to him and deport him. Yes. Because there were African American intellectuals like W.E.B. Du Bois that would kind of support what the white people's attack of him, and so and like you said, that kind of thing, because Du Bois can travel to Liberia, and then the whole dichotomy and the issue with Liberia, whether Liberia would let Marcus Garvey come in at the time, right. So you brought up a very good point about the struggle between this intellectual capacity, this intellectual group in America with Marcus Garvey, and Marcus Garvey's struggle with them that also affected Marcus Garvey's ability to be able to then go to Liberia.
Okay. Brother Bakan, Mr. Nubo.
In Ghana.
Yeah. Mr. Nubo, we're halfway through the show. So let's take at least, let's go to the line and take a few calls if we can. Hopefully, the topic is, even as Pan-African and as African culture, hopefully we get people to participate this evening.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Wulu, are you there in the studio? Alex. Okay, Alex, when you come back, we'll go to you. Mr. Nubo, you're coming with a question. First of all, let's welcome Mr. Zaza. Zaza to the show. First of all, let's welcome Mr. Zaza. Mr. Zaza to the show. Mr. Zaza, please introduce yourself to our guests. Mr.
Thank
Zaza,
you so much,
introduce
Mr. Wright.
yourself to our guests.
Thank you so much. There's an echo.
Mute yourself.
There's an echo.
Mute yourself.
Yeah, Alex, after Zaza will come to you so you can take the call. Yeah.
Okay. So thank you, Mr. Wright, and thanks to everyone on the show. I don't know. Let me change my position because our guest is finding it difficult to recognize my face. Can you see me now better?
Man, he doesn't know you have to.
When I was sitting, I think how to recognize my face. So maybe you can see me. But it's a pleasure to share the platform with great people like you, Mr. Wu, Mr. Numbo, the veteran, and our guest. It's a pleasure to be on the same platform with you. I'm Emmanuel Zarza, currently here in the United States. I'm speaking to you from West Warwick, Rhode Island. So I'm here to listen. I think there's a lot I will learn from you today. Maybe some I've never read. Maybe I may hear from some people. And I'm willing to get it firsthand because I think I'm trying to see some sort of fountain of knowledge here today. So I'm willing to learn. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Zaza. So we're going to go to the line and come back. At this point, Brother Bakan, what happened? When we come back, we'll have you respond to the callers, either comments or questions. I just want to make you aware of that. Mr. Wulu, take it away, sir.
No problem.
Back to the bird, Liberia. My people like Taibo. Top FM 105.3, we on the air. Leader, shout, Sheku Koroma. Arche right. In a play.
Okay, for folks, and of course that's it. Here it is. Evelyn here on top 105.3, half 21 minutes, running down the hour, 10 o'clock. That's the correct time here from what I'm seated in studio. So whatsoever you're doing, however the case is going to be, like we like to say, keep glued to your radio and don't you go away. We are here on the program that beg to differ. You've been supporting us since 9 o'clock up to present. It's about time to go to the phone line and have your say here on the show. You've been listening, you've been following Dr. William Toas speaking. So let's take you from the phone line 0776 105 105 881 14 3504. 0776 105 105 881 14 3504. And you will be live on top 105.3 this wonderful evening. Let's hear you 0776 105 105 881 14 3504. The numbers to put you through here this evening 0776 105 105 881 14 3504. The two numbers, if you call us tonight, you're going to be part of the show. I beg to differ. You listen to the panelists asking a question and listen to our guests explaining why we're not issues here. Yeah, so it's about time that we have you on. Maybe there are other questions that the panel asks, and then you don't give a clear clarity from A. I'm here to answer you all. Maybe there's some questions you want to ask that maybe the panel is not asking yet. You can still bring it up. So let's go on the line and pick up this person. Hello.
Yeah, good evening, Abraham.
Good evening, Danny. Where do you join us from?
Hello, my name is Mr. Shan, from Club Reality.
Please, can you just be all over a bit? Yeah.
My name is Joseph Shan from Club of Yalizio.
Joseph Shah.
Yes, sir.
All right. Welcome to the show.
I enjoy the show, but something I try to pick just why the network was not, it was breaking in. But I learned about one of the panelists speaking about learning tradition in Liberia. For learning tradition, there's a thing is from the foundation before learning the tradition. In Liberia, we have fixed tradition, so it gives you a tough time.
Okay.
You understand? If you go to the upper part of Liberia, they got different tradition. The central Liberia got different tradition. So the question is, how will they blend this tradition together, blend one? That is the question.
All right. Thank you. 881 14 3504. I'll have you on the phone line here tonight. 0776 105 105 881 14 3504. You're going to be live here on the program. I beg to differ. It's about time that you put in your course and let have you here. Nothing come to your mind. You want to ask a question, but then at that time you couldn't take part. So yeah, it's about time that we have you here on the line. 0776 105 105 881 14 3504. 0776 105 105 881 14 3504. Just pick up 3 calls or 4 and then we go back. But if not, we have to go back to the panelists. So I already have one. So let me just say about 3 more calls and then we go back. If we can get them, we have to go back to the panelists. 0776 105 105 881 14 3504. You're going to be live tonight on the program I beg to differ. 0776 105 105 881 14 3504. While we are waiting, we take our team some to keep it rolling. Yeah, so we're going to allow about 3 minutes to you. We can have you within that 3 minutes. We have to go back to the panelists so that the guests can be able to respond to those questions.
Top FM 105.3, we on the air. Leader, shout! Sheku Koroma!
0776 105 105 881 14 3504. 0776105105 You're going to be live tonight. The program I bet to D4. You listen to our guests explain why very easy. Listen to panelists asking a series of questions to the guys. And yeah, it's about time that we have you on. And let's hear from you. 776105105 let's pick you up quickly, and then we'll go to the panelists. So just have 1 more minute to go. Yeah. 10:26, 27 now. So we hold it there. Go back because we can't keep him waiting whole day, right? So, Mr.
Thank
Ryan,
you. So let's go to Veteran Smith. Veteran Smith, let's pick up to where you left off with the guest.
Yes, I was. First, I want to say, Mr. Numo, you and that Lahani have a profession. He's an architecture. So my question to him: you're a historian, you're a priest. What happened with your architecture degree? What are you using it for, and where did you get it from? That would be my question to you.
Okay, yes, thank you. I still do architecture. I mainly do residential architecture, and right now I am working on buying some land in Ghana and to build affordable housing for the people in Ghana, where we will be building housings from shipping containers. That's one of the projects that I'm working on. I got my architectural degree from Tuskegee University. That was originally Tuskegee Institute and then became Tuskegee University. So so I still do my architecture. Also, I still do my architecture. But I have a question. I think the caller had a question, and I think he asked the question. Are we supposed to respond to him or answer to him?
Yes, we saw it. You can respond to it. Anything you heard from the caller, right?
Yeah, I didn't hear the whole question.
We apologize, Brother Bacon. We apologize.
Yeah, I didn't hear the whole question. I think he was asking about the different traditions in Liberia.
Yes.
If someone could give me his whole question of what he was asking.
Well, I think he was saying we have several traditions in the country, and he is speaking from southeastern Liberia, and he was saying, even in southeastern Liberia, we have several traditions. So I think he was talking about how do we marry all the traditions.
Yes.
I understand it though.
Okay, that's kind of what I thought he was asking about. With all of these traditions, how do we unite them? Okay, first is there is no need to unite them. You don't have to unite them. What has to be done is we have to respect each other's tradition.
Right.
There is no need to unite all of the traditions. We understand that for lack of a better word, we understand that God has not chosen any specific group of people on the planet. There's no group of people that has this special relationship with God. We all got this special relationship with God. And through our experience, we come up with the ways and the beliefs in which we respect God, which we in our relationship with God. In ancient Kemet, which is Egypt,
Egypt, yes.
In their saying, there is in one of their sacred writings, they talk about the righteous is the chosen of God. So whenever I'm in another tradition and I meet someone in a totally different tradition, how they express that tradition, how they talk to their God, what they call their God is totally irrelevant. What is relevant is, do we have a righteous? Do we have a just? Do we have a balanced? Do we have a fair interaction with each other? And if that is the case, then I understand that even though you may call your God Olodumare, and I call my God Inyame, I understand that you are dealing with the same God because you have the same righteous and balanced behavior in which I express. So it doesn't matter that they're different. What has to take place and what we have to do is understand that righteous behavior and honest and loving and caring behavior is the order of the day. That's how you interact. That's what you do.
Yes.
You know, so if we do that, it doesn't matter what someone believes. So it's not necessary for us to unite the religious beliefs. But what is necessary for us to unite is the economic condition. Africa needs one currency for every last country. And we need one, well, not one passport, but our passport should allow us to be able to travel from one country to the next without a visa. Those are the two things that should be united. Nothing else. And there could be a language unification, but that's not necessary either. You know, but a one economic and the ability to travel from one country to the next, that is what will unite us all. We don't necessarily need to have a united spiritual belief system.
Thank you.
And my second question before I go to Mr. Zaza, if he come back, you talk about your interest in building, using your architecture degree to build in Ghana, and the way the design that you carry into Ghana, very unique. I want you to expand on that design. How important is that design that can also be helpful to Liberia?
Yes. There is an Adinkra symbol from Ghana called Fihankra. And that's the name of my architectural firm. It's called Fihankra Neighborhood Design Center. And what Fihankra is, Fihankra in Ghana, they have these rectangular houses that are on all four sides that has a central space. And that central space, Ghanaians has created a symbol of that called Fihankra. And what we'll find then is in traditional compounds in Ghana have this centralized space in the middle of the compound in which they do everything. You know, they cook in the mornings, the elders come and people come and they sit in this space, you know, and so this is one of my design elements in the housing that I'm going to build in Ghana. I'm going to create this centralized space where the rooms are around the centralized space, and then the reflect and the way these spaces will look, or the way the house will look, will reflect some of the traditional aspects of how Ghanaian homes and how Ghanaian housing was built in the tradition. It will reflect those, will reflect that look. It is very important. I remember I worked for this very popular Black architectural firm here in the United States called Stanley Love Stanley. And they had a project in South Africa. One of the historical Black colleges in the United States, Wilberforce University, had a project that they were building in South Africa. And our firm was the firm to design the project in South Africa. Well, he designed the project and South Africans rejected it because it didn't look nothing like South Africa.
Right.
And so we had to go back and redesign it and to give it this cultural connection, which is extremely important. Now, remember, in the beginning, I told you I'm unapologetically African. So everything that I do is about being African. So when I do my architecture, it's about being African. And so African architectural design qualities and aspects became very significant in what I do and how I function. And I saw the need for that when I worked for this firm, and they tried to design this building like it was in the United States in South Africa, and they rejected the building. So what I do and how I deal with my designs is all rooted in the cultural dynamics of the group of African people that I'm designing for, and one of the aspects that I deal with that's going to be a part of this housing design when I finish buying my land in Ghana is going to be this centralized court that I see that is a part of a lot of the compounds in Ghana today.
Okay.
All right,
you have a follow-up question?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Okay. My follow-up would be, I like what you just stated, because you style of African spirituality, the Akan tradition. You went to Booker T. Washington. You went to the importance of our African burial cemetery in New York, and two leaders, and to the United Nations. My question was centered around all of that you have stated. What can we do as African people from your history background? What can we do as African people to reconnect to our original being, who we are, who we were from the beginning? God created us, how we develop civilization. How can we come back to that origin? Is it possible? If not, why?
This is a really good question. I love this question, because this question speaks to, now watch this. This question speaks to a flaw that is in the African-centered community's thinking, right? And I'm going to say it like this. In order for us to go back to, so first, yes, we can go back to our original being. But we have to be willing and ready to go where the truth and the knowledge of reality takes us, right? Now, remember when I spoke earlier about how oppression separated our ability to connect practical information with common sense. And what that does is that produced in us a fear of going where the truth takes us, right? One thing that I'm also planning to do when I get to Ghana is start a school. And that school's curriculum is not going to be anywhere near like any school that is in Ghana today, right? Because this is one thing that I talked about with all of my friends, because most of my friends have been initiated and trained as priests in some African tradition, right? And I say, we want to be able to build pyramids again, right? And we have the flaw in thinking that all we got to do is teach our children that our ancestors built pyramids and they built these temples. And if our children know that, then they will be able to do it. No, they're not. They're just going to know it. What we got to do is we got to recreate the context and the condition that was in the culture that allowed them to build the pyramids in the first place. So just knowing that they built the pyramids is not going to give anybody the skill to be able to do it. So what we have to do is we have to go back and we have to study our culture. We have to understand what our ancestors told us to do. And we got to do it. And we got to do it with the same feeling of correctness and right that we did when we practiced the white man's world. See, we practice when we practice Christianity, we believe in Jesus wholeheartedly. Mm-hmm. So we have to believe in our culture wholeheartedly when we practice it, right? We talk about, African people invented mathematics and physics and astronomy and all of these studies and this science. Most definitely true. We invented science. People who believe in a God invented science. So then, in order to build pyramids, that's what they did. They studied the natural world, and the people that were studying the natural world were the priests. So if you are going to be initiated into a priesthood, you need to also start studying mathematics, science, astronomy. You need to understand why the why the sun moves the way it moves in the sky, why the moon moves the way it moves in the sky. What happens on different time periods in the earth when the sun is at sunrise, because there's a total different experience with the earth, with the sun, when it's at sunrise and when it's at high noon. Those are totally two different experiences. And you got to start to understand that. And this is what shaped and built our societies in the beginning. There's a reason why the Dogon was able to chart Sirius B in a dance that they did. They studied the sun and the stars. So this is what we have to do. We have to authentically revive our culture. We have to authentically believe in it because it does work, and we have to do what our ancestors did. And when we start doing that, we may build floating pyramids by the time we get to it.
Right? Absolutely.
So, and that's what we have to do.
Yes.
We have to totally forget about what the white man says. The only aspect of the white man's world that we have to know certain things, right? We have to deal with technology. Yes, we have to learn technology, but we have to learn technology from a certain perspective, right? Mm-hmm. If you understand the culture of your ancestors, this is how deep it gets, right? If you understand the culture of your ancestors and what your ancestors are saying and what they do, that should affect on what type of car you buy, right? that should affect on what type of car. Should we buy electric cars or should we buy gas cars? Knowing that the gas cars is polluting the environment way more than the electric cars. And our ancestors believed that the sky and the earth had energy and spirit. So we didn't do things that polluted the sky and the earth. You see what I'm saying? So, and this is the level, and I'm making it up. I'm kind of like giving you an idea of how deeply we have to analyze
yes,
it.
let me.
You know, you see
I
what I'm
can
saying?
understand where you're going with this, Brother Bakan.
Yeah.
So before I bring in Mr. Nubo, I mean, it may come across like I am a government representative here representing the government of Liberia. Because every time you talk about, doing this in Africa and Ghana, I want to pluck in Liberia. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you're doing in Ghana, try to replicate that in Liberia too.
Wait a minute. But that's just it. You're actually right. My friend, the one that does the travel thing that I told you about,
right.
He actually has his Ghanaian citizenship. So our plans is to do stuff in Liberia. I'm sorry, he has his Liberian citizenship. I'm sorry, he has his Liberian passport, his Liberian passport and everything. I just didn't have the money to go to Liberia with him at that time, because else I would have had mine too.
Right.
But he has his Liberian passport and everything. So our plans is to actually, he's going to go to Liberia and I'm going to be in Ghana, and we're going to build the sister school system. We're going to build one in Liberia and one in Ghana. But I'm definitely with you. I am going to add Liberia to my plans.
Absolutely great. All right, Mr. Nubo, your question or comment, sir?
Yes. Yeah, I'm enjoying the discussion.
Absolutely.
With the right Reverend and fellow engineer, civil and environmental engineer.
Oh, that's what you do, but you're a civil environmental engineer?
Oh
man, I need to talk to you.
So, I mean, there's the co-host, Arche. He's not a good guy. He read my mind. The questions I want to ask you, he asked you the question. Man, I mean, he's a financial man, but I don't know how come in these few days he became a mind reader, reading my mind. And I want your organization. I will get in contact with you. Your organization to do some work in southeastern Liberia. And if it is school, that school must not forget Pan-Africanism. Number one. Number two, ethics. Those are the two things. And I appreciate you, and I will get in touch with you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, Baba.
And
I mean, I love.
I think Claudia. Go ahead.
I love what you're saying. It's really funny. It's really funny. My oldest daughter used to, my oldest daughter is a much better scholar than I am. Right? And we used to have these battles of grades we used to get in school. And she used to talk about, bringing home like a C, which she's never done. But I was like, look, I don't care whether you are a C student. but what I care about is your good character.
Right.
I was like, I said, I would rather have a C student with good character than an A student with bad character.
Right.
And this is one of the fundamental aspects of education, is shaping and developing in our youth the understanding of why you should have good character. See, we talk to our children about good character, but we don't give them the reason why having good character is better than having bad character. And so this is the aspect. So when you talk about Pan-Africanism and the righteous, the good development, the good character development, it is extremely important. The foundation of our education has to be good character, because then you're not going to get a scientist that is brilliant as I don't know what, and next thing you know, they developing a bomb that can destroy humanity. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? There's nothing moral about that. I don't care what your country is asking you. I don't care what is going on. There is nothing moral for you to create something that can possibly destroy life on the planet. Why would you do that? If your character is good, right? That's not something you will do. And this is why we have to shape, and deal with our children. So yes, I totally agree with you, Baba, and we will keep in contact, and I'm ready to, willing, and excited about doing projects in Liberia.
This is what we are here for. We want to have people connection. This is beautiful. We have engineer Nubo connecting with our dear brother Bakan, who is also an engineer, and we look forward to that beautiful connection. And come back to and let us know what project you took on in Liberia. At this point, we want to get to Madam Claudia and welcome to Madam Claudia. Welcome to the show. Please introduce yourself to our guests, and if you have any comment or question for you. Okay. Madam Claudia,
are you there?
she is. Madam Claudia. Oh, there you go.
Yes, I'm here. I'm so sorry. The network is kind of like shaking a bit.
All right. Do you have any?
Yes.
Please introduce yourself and if you have any comment or question.
All right, fine. Thank you. I'm Claudia Smith, and I'm a reporter, freelancer in Liberia, and I'm also someone that has a lot of. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Mrs. She's good.
Okay. So I have a lot of involvement in a lot of things that go on in Liberia because I'm always, eager to, I'm like a sponge. I want to get it all in, So when it comes to Pan-Africanism and it comes to spreading the knowledge of the culture and accepting the culture, I want to know from you because I see that you're someone very involved. Like you have a medallion on your neck, and it says a lot looking at that chain on your neck. I mean, I can see like 3 or 4 things being said from that symbol. But how connected and networked are you with Pan-Africanism, like Pan-African organizations? Because I know like King Buju, for example, they have an organization, one of the biggest organizations that have even Rastafarians and other cultural, communities engaged with this Pan-Africanism, Pan-African organization. So I want to know, are you connected with other people in Liberia that has really gutted you to want to get more involved in spreading the knowledge of culture And one thing I wanted to say in a statement, because that was a question, we always talk about culture as not being practiced, as not being taught, and we're not focusing on it, we're not pushing it hard enough. But then we have to look at slavery. We in Africa we only celebrate independency. We only talk about being freed, but we don't focus on what happened, what put us all different parts, different places, and made us not want to follow our culture, because our culture led us to being seen as, Black people are seen as being stupid, you know. And your culture is something that you're fighting to spread here, but in America, Blacks are fighting to take that uh, quota of being Black away. We shouldn't be defined as Black. We shouldn't be defined as lapa wearers. We all want to be defined as individuals who don't have skin color. So how are you contradicting what others are fighting to try to throw out of the bin, but you're fighting to put it back in and teach people, look, we gotta focus that we're Black. Okay, Black people don't do these things. Black people don't go to school and learn these things. We have to start getting the curriculum in line. Schools need to learn to teach in certain dialects rather than just in colloquia, like that. So I just wanted to know, how close are you with the community that has been trying to spread it and have like literally went nowhere with it? Because since they organize themselves, they have one once a year anniversary. I go on, I MC their shows, so I know it ends there, it stops there. So that's my question.
Okay. First, let me address, because there were a few questions in that. The first thing is, I'm a member and a part and connected to an organization called Ancobia out of DC. On the 3rd of April, Ancobia is putting on what they call the Sankofa Conference, and they talk about these ideas: nation building, Pan-Africanism. And so if you can look up Ancobia on Google and go to their website, you'll see the information about the conference that's coming up on the 3rd. I have been a member of that community since '93. I'm also a part of many different manhood societies in which we get together and we do rites of passages for young boys. I've been a part of that. And all of the organizations or the things that we're connected to, or that I'm connected to, are Pan-African. I'm not a member. Let me change that. Outside of my profession, that is an architect, because I am a member of the National Organization of Minority Architects, which is not a Pan-African organization per se. But outside of that, all of the organizations that I'm a part of, or that have even been connected to, has been a Pan-African organization. Most of the people that I am connected to on the continent is in Ghana. It's not in Liberia. I have a personal relationship with people, with family in Liberia, that when I go to Liberia, I go to visit them. But I'm not necessarily connected to a group of people. More so, the groups of people that I'm connected to is in Ghana. In Ghana, there is an organization called the Ndinkra group. And the Ndinkra group is led by a brother that I'm very close to, named Diallo Sombri. And there are numerous things that he does, that he's doing in Ghana, that I'm a part of, that is about spreading the culture and actually helping African Americans that are relocating to Ghana to get acclimated in how to connect and how to operate in Ghana. So these are the things that I am connected to. But today I gave my verbal commitment to making a stronger connection to Liberia, which is what I am definitely going to do. I believe, and it's really strange, because I believe that, and I don't know why it is, that Liberia among African Americans are one of the countries that we least connect to. And I think it should be much more stronger than what we do. So I'm definitely going to start making a much stronger connection to organizations and groups in Ghana. Now, let me address the attempt to revive culture. That's a problem for African people everywhere, due to our colonization, oppression, and enslavement. And we have to work diligent to fight that confusion among our people. And the first stage, or the focus stage, should be our children, and re-educating our children, giving them an understanding of who they are and where they come from, and how we will engage life and deal with the world. This is very important. This is one of the reasons why I want to start a school when I get to Ghana. And as I said, my friend wants to start a school in Liberia. And when we do that, our curriculum is going to be totally different. In Ghana, there is, every school in Ghana, the official language is English. And why? Why is that? That's oppression. That's the result of oppression and colonization. The school that I start, English will not be a language that is spoken in the school. It will be a language that is taught. You can take a class and learn English, but the day-to-day communication and is going to be spoken in Chi, which is the language of the people of where I'm going to be. These are the kind of things that we have to start doing when we're educating our children. So our children will grow up with the understanding that their culture is the only way that they live. And then what they do and where they work and how they work and the choices that they make in their life will be about the message and the information that they received as they've grown up practicing their own culture. And this is how we have to deal with it. One thing we don't do, and this is also going to be another course that we're going to teach in our school when the children get to a certain age. We're not going to teach them at the beginning, but when they get to a certain age, we're going to start having what is called, what right now, this is what we call it. We may change it, but we call it white supremacy studies. No one teaches our children how white supremacy has affected us and our understanding. No one teaches how white folks oppressed us and colonized us. No one teaches that. So our children grow up without an understanding of what oppression is. So when I ask a woman, how do you say father in Chi, and she tells me Papa, and actually thinks that that is tree. And I was like, no, that's not tree. And the reason that she thinks it's tree because she hasn't been taught about oppression and colonization. So she doesn't understand that the word Papa is a slang word created in the United States from English for father, right? And so I had to say to her, and I did not ask her, well, then what is Aja, which is father in Chi, right? And then I started singing a traditional song to her. I think I said this earlier. And I started singing a traditional song to her that the song talks about, you know, father, mother, come, and the song actually literally translates come and be well seated, or come and have a seat, be a part of it. And nowhere in the song do they say Papa. They say Aja. And I asked her that. I was like, why don't they say Papa? And the deal is because Papa is not tree. And these are the kinds of things that are happening to us as a people, and we have to start affecting change, and that is by teaching our children what our culture is, how our culture functions, what it means and what it says, and teach them this is oppression, this is colonization, and this is what happened to us, and this is why we say this, and this is why we do this. And that is where, and that's when the effect will change. That's when the effect will change. I hope I answered your question, sister.
Any follow-up, Claudia?
Yes, I have a follow-up. When you talk about persistent in hoping that the tradition and the culture will be taught, especially to the children, because it starts there first. Are you also saying that it's relevant that bondo bushes, society bushes, these cultural practices that are going on in Africa should still be the same? Cultural practices that are causing mutilation, causing other, damage and psychological damage and emotional damage to the children, because teaching culture also means you got to take ratting.
I'm saying yes and no. What we have to understand,
physical thing, emotional.
Yes.
So do you want everything about the culture to come back and still be the same?
No, let me finish answering. I'm saying yes and no. I'm saying we don't have to accept, when we decide to practice our culture, we don't have to accept things that are destructive, right? And I also want to say, I'm not sure that all of the destructive stuff that we talk about in our culture is actually cultural. I think some of those things came into existence as a result of our psychological trauma. But my stand is that we don't give up our culture because we found out that we did some things that are bad. We just address those negative things within the context of what our culture paradigm is. We don't give up our culture because we do something bad. If that is the case, then what are we going to practice? What are we going to do? And so I'm saying, no, we don't give up our culture for nobody, but we definitely address those things that are negative in our culture and come up with with new ways of being, or just eliminate it, period. Because some things we can eliminate, we don't necessarily need to replace it with anything. We just eliminate it. Let me give you an example. I have a friend that traveled to South Africa, and she talked about how a part of the South African, in certain aspects of South African culture, they used to capture albinos and cut off their limbs because they thought they had some spiritual power. Right? That wasn't, white men didn't teach us that. Right? The white man didn't teach us that. So we don't have to accept that. And we can say, no, we're not going to do that anymore. But that don't mean that we give up the whole culture because that was done. You know, that is an aspect of what, and I think I spoke about it earlier, right? The white man is Christian, and Christianity says that if you don't believe in Jesus Christ, you are a pagan and devil worshiper. But they constantly elevate Greek and Roman culture. They're not giving up Greek and Roman culture for nobody, the most pagan culture of all. But they're not giving it up because the reality is the whole thing is not where the problem is. People have ascending and descending aspects of their nature in all things. So there are going to be negative behaviors that people will do, a part of every culture. And those negative behaviors are the things that we get rid of. We don't necessarily get rid of the whole culture because of that. I hope you understand or see my point.
Thank you very much. Mr. Wright, we do have a second session of questions, right?
Yes, boss. I always want to give y'all in Liberia the preference. So go ahead.
Oh, okay, great. So you said that with the mutilating of albino children in South Africa, the white man didn't, who taught them that? It wasn't the white man, right? So that statement seems
right, that's just a negative thing.
Yeah, it's a negative thing that someone just came up with. But the fact, you know, the fact that you said that it wasn't a white man that taught them that, it reveals that the white man has put a bit of something in our culture, because you accept some, but you don't accept that. You don't believe or accept that a white man would teach someone how to chop the limbs of an albino. White man didn't teach us that one. So I wanted to know what are some of the cultural things that we have going that you feel the white man was a part of, that you want to bring back into our day-to-day routine and life? And number two, those that are cultural, knowledgeable, and revolutionary.
Let he take the question one at a time. We got. You'll come back after that.
Okay, I definitely want to understand the first question. You're asking me, what has the white man given to us that we should accept? Or you're asking me, what has the white man given to us that we should reject? Because
I've never looked at our culture to have been pieced by a white man. But the statement you made, you said, you gave an example of South Africa, how albinos are being mutilated and chopped in pieces. And you said that it wasn't a white man that taught that to them. They did that thing on their own. So that means that from your point of view and how it sounds, it seems that the white man has taught us some culture that is a part of us and it's something that you should be brought back into our life and our lifestyles. So I want to ask you, did the white man do any? Yeah, I just want to know, is the white man involved in any part of our culture?
No, I'm saying that there are things that the white man has affected our culture that we are doing because he taught us to do that. And there are a lot of things that we do. We are Christian because the white man taught us Christianity. And that aspect of us being Christian has affected how we function culturally. We no longer give honor to our ancestors. Culturally, we did. That was a significant part of our culture. We no longer, not all of us, but very seldom do people really honor, and this is on the continent of Africa, and this is in the diaspora. Very seldom do we have this big honor and respect for our ancestors. We don't do that because the white man told us that was spookism, and that we shouldn't do that. And so there are things that we do today that is a result of what we've gotten from oppression and colonization. Then there are things that we do that are negative that we did not get from oppression and colonization. And what I'm saying is that our culture is what it is. And we can and it has extremely good aspects to it, and it has bad aspects to it. And we just eliminate the bad and continue to function within the world paradigm of what our culture says. But the white man has definitely influenced and affected how we live our life on a day-to-day basis. Ghana, the official language of Ghana is English. Why? Because the white man oppressed us and made it that. Tree, which is one of the largest dialect in Ghana, that's not an official language. Ga, which is another dialect in Ghana, that ain't an official language. Why? The official, because the white man has made us think that our culture is not valuable. So we do what white men say. And all I meant by we didn't learn that particular negative behavior from the white man is to just show that there are things we do that we need to get rid of and not do anymore out of our culture. So my question to you would be, if you recognize this mutilation and things that you talked about, are you saying that we shouldn't practice our culture?
No.
Okay. So if you're not saying that, then the question that you should say to yourself, how do we continue to practice our culture with this negative thing that is happening? Because if you're telling me we shouldn't get rid of it because we practice this negative thing, then the question has to become is, how do we do it then? And that's what I'm saying. I'm saying just stop doing it and continue to do the things that the culture paradigm teaches us to do. In a con, we have a concept, an ideology called Suban Papa, which is good character. In Ifa out of Nigeria, they have Iwa Pele, Iwa Rere, which is good and gentle character. In the culture in the Nile Valley, we have Ma'at, which talks about order, justice, righteousness, reciprocity, and balance. So we let our behavior from those cultural paradigms dictate what we do in the future. So we can't have Iwa Pele, we can't have Suban Papa, and we can't be doing Ma'at, chopping people up. Do you understand? Do you see, sister? Do you understand what I'm saying now?
Yes, definitely. That was very, very deep, and I appreciate that. That's what I know you had that in you. I needed to get it out. I like that, and that shows me how passionate you are, and it brings. And I have a personal question for you, and I hope there's no
Yes,
pun
ma'am.
intended. And I'm going to try to
Yeah.
make it as sweet as possible, because you have such a nice smile. So,
Thank you.
I know that a lot of people that try to bring this message about, like the late Marcus Garvey, the late Haile Selassie, even the latest Bob Marley and Lucky Dube, and people that talked about culture and unity were in some way assassinated or gotten rid of, because it was almost like, it's almost like trying to create a cult of a mass of, a movement that could be a troublesome movement. Bringing the culture back also means getting rid of some things that would make companies and businesses and organizations lose money. It would lose money.
Yeah.
So it becomes a dangerous message. So I
Yes.
wanted to know from you, what inspired you really so involved in this, because you're very emotional about it.
That's an interesting question. Y'all all right if I tell you because that's going to take me back to when I was about 17 years old. More like
Yes,
19.
I want to know.
Okay. At 19 years old, I attended a predominantly white school called New Jersey Institute of Technology. And then eventually I got my right mind and I transferred to Tuskegee. But at 19 years old, now we're going to deal with reality. At 19 years old, we're just walking hormones at 19 years old, right? So I'm in New York and we're walking down 42nd Street in New York. And back at that time, 42nd Street was wild. It was wild. The adult theaters lined up the street and they had the advertisement of the movies that they were showing, just right there on the billboard while you walk by. And they had speakers in the lobby, so while you walking by, you can hear what's going on in the movie. So me and my friends, it was about like 9 of us. We're young males walking around being typical what males are. And so I walked past one of the theaters and I look, and it's an image of this Black woman engaging in this group sex with a group of white men. And I'm walking, and some kind of ancestral spirit snatches me and takes me back into slavery, right? And I'm seeing this woman that is in the poster. Now she's being forced by plantation masters. And I'm going crazy in my mind, like, oh my God. And I can hear my ancestors in my head saying, see, right? And as I start to come out of it, right? And as I'm starting to come out, and I'm vaguely hearing my friends saying, Johanse, what, you all right, Johanse? And then as I start come out of it, I hear one loud ancestor voice say, all slave masters was not heterosexual. So now my mind shows me a group of men with a Black man. And so now I'm stepping out of it and I'm walking and they looking at me like, you all right? And I'm just like, and I'm not answering and I'm walking in silence. The next day, I hear Dr. Yosef Ben Yakinen talk about ancient Kemet and the MetaNetter and the information. And then now I'm like angry and hurt and all this and now I'm confused on top of it, because he's showing me all of this stuff. He didn't say, oh, they got the story of Mary, and he read a passage from the book. He didn't do that. He said they got the story of Mary, and he showed me, and he splashed up on the screen an image written in stone, in MetaNetter. It was in stone. That means the ancestors themselves wrote this. And he shows Mary squatting on a birthing stool, giving birth to Heru, which is who I'm wearing, right? And so now I'm confused, like, what? The story of Jesus? What? And so I go to my dormitory room and I say, look, God, I'm not getting on my knees. I'm not folding my hands. I'm not doing none of that. You know what's in my heart. You know my state of confusion right now. And you need to clear it up for me. I am asking you to clear it up for me. If you don't, then you are the reason on where I go when I pass away, because I'm asking you to give me the truth. The next day, a friend of mine that runs a bookstore gave me The Stolen Legacy. And then the next day after that, I got Shake On to Geoff, Myth or Reality. And I told God, I said, I'm not going to sit in this state of confusion. I am going to go look for the truth. And if you don't help me find it, then what I end up is your fault. And that day, I decided I will never go back. Never go back. And that's where I am now. I was 19, 18 when I did that. The word nigga left my vocabulary, and I have not used it since. I think it is a contradiction and utterly ridiculous for Black folks anywhere to use the word nigga. But this is where it went. And this is what you experience. This is what you're hearing when I talk. My thing is I'm not running from the truth. I'm going to go wherever the truth takes me. I believe in speaking courageous truth, which is why I talk about the mutilations of African culture in South Africa. Because that was a truth that I had to face that was coming from my friend that went and visited South Africa. And she told me about it. And I had to face, Africa ain't just milk and honey either. But when you look at the ideas and the concepts that have come from my ancestors, they are some of the most brilliant pieces of wisdom and knowledge ever. And they'll tell you, our ancestors tell you, that there are two sides of life, a positive and negative side. That's why we don't have a devil. There's no such thing as a devil in no African culture. Because Set in ancient Kemet is not evil. He is an entity that is simply doing a wrong behavior at one time. Set is not evil. People think Set is. Set is a Kemetic deity that killed his brother and chopped his brother up into 14 pieces, which is Osiris, which is really Asar, so the whole story, and people consider him Set and try to make the correlation, the phonetic correlation of Set and Satan. And no, Set is not evil. Set is just an entity that did a wrong thing.
So let me jump in right there, brother Bakan.
Mm-hmm.
So we talk a lot. We have talked a lot about the great Messiah Michael Garvey.
Yes.
I want now to transition to another luminary,
Mm-hmm.
and you were talking about his material when you spoke of Mary, and the ancestor recording some of the events using the stone, and I'm speaking of Dr. Ben, Dr. Joseph Yerkinum.
Yes.
I follow him a lot.
I knew him personally.
Oh, you do?
I knew him personally. Yes, I met him when
good.
I was 18 years old. I knew him personally. But yeah, go ahead.
All right. So you're one of those 4 soldiers. Great. So
yeah.
So you may be able to answer this question. You were the right person that can answer this question. So I follow him, and I watched the video when he was on his deathbed, and he was saying who he was going to give all of his material to, all of his research, all of his writing, and all that, all the rich materials. And then he said that I have made a decision to give all of my work to the Nation of Islam.
Nation of Islam. The worst decision he's ever made in his life.
Okay. See, now you just said it out right there. Because I couldn't understand that. Explain to me what was the reason behind that decision.
Okay. Dr. Ben became conscious and grew into his consciousness in the time period of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, not Farrakhan. He came into his understanding during the time periods of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm X.
Yes.
Like he knew Malcolm X, you see. So he came into that time period of that. So his image of the Nation of Islam and his understanding of the Nation of Islam is that. And I'll tell you the significant difference between him and his boy, Dr. Clark, right? So his image is that, and his perspective, when I asked him why he was going to give it to the Nation of Islam, his reasoning was because he felt that the Nation of Islam would take care of it and make it accessible to the people. And I just didn't feel like getting into a discussion with him about it, because I told him that is not what they're going to do with it. You know, the nation is not going to make that information accessible to the people, you know. And that's why he decided to give all of his information and stuff in his books and everything to the Nation of Islam. I believe that it's better that he gave it to the Nation of Islam than to some white institution or whatever. But that wasn't the organization, because there are other organizations that would have taken care of the information just like the nation, you know, that he could have given it to. Now, Dr. Clark, his boy, gave all of his books to Clark Atlanta University. And Clark Atlanta has what they call a special collections, where you can go and look and read the books, you just can't check them out. That's what Dr. Ben should have done. But I wasn't close enough to be able to tell him, don't give them to the Nation of Islam. The Nation of Islam has nothing, has no facility or nowhere that we can go and access these books, you know. But the nation is a healthy organization, but
and you know, Brother McCall, That's what I was thinking, right? Now that you said it.
Yeah.
It was his decision based on the fact that, okay, I have to find an organization that is well organized, that is well run, that is so disciplined that they are going to protect all of my work when I am gone.
That is exactly his
all
thoughts.
the other organization that are just out there but has no foundation at all, no discipline. You know.
Right. And that's what he thought. But his perspective of the nation is from his experience with Malcolm X.
Malcolm X, right?
Because the nation is nowhere near as organized as it was when Malcolm was alive. It's nowhere near like that. It's very organized, but it ain't like it used to be. But my thing was I don't think the nation necessarily has the facility that can maintain and take care of the books. I don't think the nation has the facility. But schools, the historical Black colleges that would have taken care of the books just as well as the nation, or well, actually better, because they have the facility to do it. They have libraries that has sections in it specifically to preserve older books, right? I'm like, why didn't he give it? Why don't you give it to the Schomburg? You see, there was just a whole bunch of other places he could have given those books to. I just think he just had a very, very personal respect for the Nation of Islam from his experience with Malcolm.
Okay. So we don't have to look at it as we don't have to look at it from a point of view that this was an indictment from Dr. Ben on the rest of the Black movements and organizations, that he didn't trust them, and that he prioritized the nation above them all. I mean, you mentioned the Black historical colleges. There are so many of them out there that he could have worked with.
Yeah, there's so many of them. Yeah, and he didn't do it. And I know my friends, we was like, why won't he? You know, Dr. Clark passed away.
It's not an indictment. It's not an indictment on their organizational level. You know,
I think it's an indictment that the historical Black colleges curriculum structure and infrastructure is still basically controlled by white society.
Yes. That's where I was going. I'm glad you brought that.
And the nation, ain't no white folks controlling what the nation do.
No,
but the nation doesn't have. But the nation doesn't have the kind of accessibility that he thought that they had. They don't have it, and I don't think they want to give people that access, right? Because the nation is constantly trying to slide into the back door of African consciousness, right?
What do you mean by that? Can you explain that further? What do you mean by that?
Right. The nation is Asiatic Black men. The nation ain't African Black men. They just started saying that. That's something new that they just started saying. Okay. Right? And then they started saying that because of the work of Chancellor Williams, John G. Jackson, Dr. Yosef Ben Yakinen, Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, Jacob Carruthers, you know, because their books came out, and in their books there is an extreme criticism of Islam. Right? And so the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught Asiatic Black men. But if you ever really paid attention, Malcolm X never said that. Right? Malcolm always talked about being African.
Yes.
Right? And so this whole thing of how do I correct myself? This is the nation. How do I correct myself without saying our teachings are wrong? Right? And if Dr. Ben give us the books, we can read his books and his information and learn the ultimate truth, and then slide into real development without saying the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was wrong.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Because and nobody will know that we're doing it because we got his books. And we ain't letting everybody read the books so they can see that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was wrong.
Okay. All right. Brother Bacum, let me bring in the other panelists. Mr. Nubo, you gonna come in?
Yes, I have some questions for.
I'm really enjoying this. I really do.
Learned panelist or guest. You are a man of God.
Yes, sir.
That's how we call it in Liberia. And I want to find out if you, let's say you tomorrow you're going to preach. Are you going to consider the Ethiopian Bible or the King James Bible?
Nope. I won't preach from neither one of them because neither one of them are indigenous to Africa.
Okay.
I will only preach and only talk about African spirituality through African, authentic African indigenous cultural paradigm. Now, is it okay if I talk about the Ethiopian Christian Bible a little bit? Okay.
Yes.
There is what they call.
I heard about it. I want
to
learn more about it. So yes, please.
Right. There is what they call Coptic Christianity, and then there's what is called the Ethiopian Orthodox Christian Bible. And the Ethiopian Orthodox Christian Bible is really developed from Coptic Christianity. So let's deal with what is Coptic Christianity. Coptic Christianity came into existence as the Greeks and the Romans took over ancient Kemet or Egypt, and those groups of people that were practicing Christianity came with them. Coptic Christians are not African. They are the invading groups of Greek people that lived in Kemet, that practiced Christianity, that developed Christianity in Kemet or in Africa. I mean, in Egypt. I use Egypt so everybody can understand what I'm talking about. They are a group of Europeans that came into Africa, into ancient Egypt, and settled in ancient Egypt, practicing their form of Christianity, and over years grew in Egypt, and the Coptic Christian sect was formed. But it was created from Europeans. It was not created from the indigenous Africans in Egypt. That is why if you look in a Coptic Christian Bible, if you look it up online, you got white people images all through it. Right? Now, two Coptic Christians traveled to Ethiopia, and they met the king of Azum. I can't remember the Ethiopian kingdom. And that king accepted Christianity. and then made Christianity the official belief system of Ethiopia or Azum, of that kingdom at the time.
Okay.
And so over time period, they started to develop their version of Christianity, but their version of Christianity comes from Coptic Christianity. And as they developed that Christianity, Coptic Christianity and the Ethiopian Orthodox Christianity becomes the two oldest Christian organizations in Christianity.
Yes.
Right? But neither one of them are indigenous to Africa. Even though when you look at the Ethiopian Orthodox Christian Bible, it's African images all through it. You know, the people are African in it. You know, so and it's but that's how Christianity gets to Africa. But you know, and let me say this, it's very easy to tell whether a belief system is indigenous to the land where the people are practicing it. Right? No group of people that develop a belief system, if they develop the belief system, will place the holy place in somebody else's land. No group of people will do that. Buddhism is in China. Buddhism is in China. Hinduism is in India. Right? Any Native American spiritual special place is right here in this land. African people are the only group of people that practice a belief system where the Holy Land ain't in their land. That's because it's not theirs. Right? Akan's holy place, there's many of them. Latte, Aquapim, all of it is right there in Ghana. You go to Nigeria with Ifa, Ife is right there in Nigeria. When we want to talk about the Dogon and what their holy spot is right there in the land of the Dogon people. Nobody is going to develop a religious belief system and then go thousands of miles away and create a holy spot. That's how you can tell when a belief system don't belong to those people. And Mecca is not in Africa. Jerusalem is not in Africa.
No.
Right? Watch this. So Christianity's oldest churches are in Africa, developed by a white group that influenced a black group. So then here comes Constantine. Constantine takes Christianity and organizes it to become the dominant Christian belief system in Europe, right? Which is the first Catholic church. Now, they're white, right? Christianity's holy place is where? Don't say Jerusalem, because that don't belong to Christianity. That's the Hebrews. The Christian holy place is the Roman Catholic Church. That is why the Pope is the next thing to God. So when white folks got Christianity, they indigenized it. And they created their holy city of their belief system. And this is what people do. So Ethiopian Orthodox Christian Bible telling me that Jesus Christ was born not in a manger, but in a cave in Jerusalem, there ain't no way you came up with that. Even if you show Jesus Christ looks just like an Ethiopian, there's no way you came up with that. That means you are learning this belief system from somebody else.
Right.
And this is the way, and this is the issue. So no, I won't ever preach from the and sure enough won't preach from the King James version.
tomorrow, your sermon will be from which Bible?
There no Bible. My sermon is going to be from the cultural stories and moral principles of the Akan people. Right? In Ifa has these moral stories that they call Odus. There is 256 of them. And one of them have several different stories in them. And all of these stories that they have are lessons of wisdom that they have. Now, it's been written in a book, but originally it wasn't written down. Groups of Babalaos, which is their head priests, remember the stories and they recite the stories. And whenever they do work, usually whenever they do kinds of counseling work for people, or what people call readings, I like to just simply call it counseling sessions, it's more than one Babalao that is there, because one Babalao can't recite 256. It takes more than that. So when they do stuff, they come together and they deal with it, and they have these special implements that they connect with spirit that tells them what Odu to talk about. In Akan, we don't have an implement. We connect to the spirit directly. We connect to the spirit directly, and we listen for messages, just no different than when someone says, you know, I was sitting and I heard my mother say, doom, 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 right? I heard my grandmother say, doom, 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 doom. My father said this to me, doom, 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 right? Well, the difference is in our training, we are taught to connect to the spirit at will. And so, like, when, I don't know if you remember when I spoke at the conference, I didn't have any notes. I didn't pad not one note. Just like now, I don't have notes. And that's how we speak. That's how we connect to spirit. Majority of African culture don't have a book.
No.
Okay, so we close up in the next 7 minutes. It's about 12 a.m. in Liberia.
Oh man, it's like it's ended. It's
I know, right?
Already?
And the station, and the station has to close up.
Hold on. Let me turn my light on so y'all can see me.
Okay. Well, Veteran Smith, you still with us?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, all right. Guess what we can do? It seems like Claudia, are you still with us? We can do the extreme a little bit.
Yes, I'm still.
Yes, what we can do, the station can leave us, and we can still hang out with Brother Bacon. Are you guys willing to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. So, Alex, whenever you want, Alex, can we get your part and coming for you? You know, since you're closing up. We're not going to be live on the radio. We're not going to, but we'll be live on Facebook and YouTube and the website. So anyone can still listen to. No, we're not going to be live on the website. I'm sorry, but we're live on the website through the station. So yeah. Alex, you wanna say your parts and comments, please.
Yeah, so I just want to appreciate you guys for coming today. On Monday, we're going to be here. Because tonight I'm very much sleepy. So.
I know. I can see. I know.
Thank you, man.
It's been just 6 days, man. You've been hard working, man.
Yeah. So tomorrow, Monday we'll be here.
Okay, Alex. Mm-hmm. All right, Mr. Noble, you're coming in. You're coming in.
Yes. Alex, you're mute. Okay. I mean, I enjoyed the discussion, and our guest, I would say, he is Ghanaian,
Yeah.
though he is American. He is Ghanaian. And I want to question him about how Kwenu of Ekuma betrayed Samuel Doe.
Wait, hold on, Mr.
No. If he knows about that.
Ask him that first. Is he aware of that history?
If he doesn't know it, no, don't answer for him. Let him say.
I didn't quite hear what he said. Do I know about what now? What is it?
There was this Ekuma general called Kwenu.
Who is the Ekuma first?
Made arrangement with Prince Johnson, and when
you're taking President water around the world, Mr. Nouveau.
Those people got there, they disarmed them, and Prince Johnson people came and killed Doe.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Okay.
Man.
Okay.
I don't know. Okay, what this was in this is a history in Ghana? Is this a history in Ghana? Is this something that it's in Liberia? Dang, I don't know about that.
In 1990.
I feel really bad because I kind of pride myself on kind of knowing.
Please don't. That's please don't feel bad about it. Please don't, because he knows that you know that you don't know it, but he just want to ask you.
Well, let me say this: the next time we talk, I will know about it. Next time we talk, I'm gonna know about it.
Okay. All right. So let's go to Fred, you back. The Veteran Smith, you have not asked in a while. Do you have any comment or question?
You have answered a lot of questions, so maybe the only thing would be on my mind is to talk about Frank Fanon.
Why
Frank Fanon?
Yeah, where he talk about double consciousness.
Double consciousness, very
good.
good.
How people judge us unfairly, and the consciousness that we within us that empower us, that is connected to Africa. My question to you: why is it there are people who understand Africa philosophy, Africa norms and value, know more about Africa than sometimes the people who are from the continents? How that happen?
Okay. That's a really good question. I hope what I say is not offensive, because it's a difficult situation. So let me explain it. We are from the belly of the beast, right? We're from the belly of the beast. There is no predominant African nothing in this country, right? Except for the things we create, like independent, like historical Black colleges and things like. But when it comes down to the government and the society on a day-to-day basis, there is no dominant African nothing. So we're in the belly of the beast, and we are constantly faced with the reality that we are oppressed on a day-to-day basis. We're constantly faced with that. On the continent, that's not the case. Even though they are oppressed on a day-to-day basis, but the imagery of the oppression is coming through Black people. So they don't see the need to fight oppression in the same way because they don't see the oppressor. Right? See, I have a really, 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 really negative and bad feeling of the president of the Congo. Right? I mean, I think if I was to see the president of Congo right now, I'd slap him in his face. Right? Because how can you be the president of your country and allow the kinds of conditions in the mines go on? I mean, how can you do that? There is no way that France would let a foreign country come into France, dig out their resources, and exploit French people in the process. Right? So when the brothers and sisters in the Congo are dealing with that struggle, they are fighting against the president of the Congo, even though behind the scenes is French businesses, right? And so the knowledge and the necessity to understand the importance of being African does not readily come to the mind of brothers and sisters on the continent, as opposed to brothers and sisters in the diaspora who live in the belly of the beast. Right? When I was in Ghana, I went to a funeral of a very high official, and there was these brothers in the police force that was there. They weren't normal police. These were kind of special police, and they had these guns. And so me and my friends started talking to them and asking them about their gun. And then we asked them, had they ever used it? And he looked at me like, man, please. He was like, I have never shot this gun, and I've been on the force for 15 years. And he was like, the most that we really have to deal with is breaking up fights, right? And I told him, I said, in the United States, you would have to be very careful where you walk and where you go, because you can get stopped by the police in the United States and not go home. And I said, and that is a common experience of African Americans in the United States. I said, that's not no once every 5 years event. I said, that's like a few months. Some Black man or woman is being shot. Some unarmed Black man or woman is being shot by a white cop. It is always a white male. It is never a male of another ethnicity. It is always a white male. And I said that this happens commonly. So the whole concept of being oppressed is in our face every day. And so this Pan-Africanist kind of thought, I said, even in the United States, the majority of Black folks don't believe in Pan-Africanism. You know, that's still a minority group of Black folks that's walking around here talking about they Pan-Africanists. But an overwhelming majority of Black folks understand that oppression and racism and colonization exist. And that's just something that isn't really obvious on the continent. And so you will find that there are more, or it seems to be more, Africans in America that are saying that they're African and dealing with African culture than Africans on the continent.
Okay.
I hope that answered your question.
Veteran Frey, you got a follow up?
Yeah, just a follow up. So, friend for now, feed this double consonant I learned in my history class at UCLA, where I saw some of my brothers never been to the continent of Africa, never stepped on the shore of Africa, but within them, Africa live within them. Day to day, they wear the dress code, they behave, they eat our food, they identify strongly. While some of our brother, when we come, we forget about our own culture.
Yes.
So when I read it in French from now about the double consciousness, not how people judge us from the outside, but that inner consciousness within us that breed us and connect us to Africa and make us so special. Sometimes I said, but how you eat the African food more than the way I eat it? How you dress this way? How you think that you been on the continent when you haven't stepped on the continent? So I want for you to break it down. I know you did it in that way. I enjoy it. But how you can do that? Why that consciousness is in us? Our ancestors just give it to us that way and
now,
make us so unique and special.
Yeah, it's there. See, like it's really funny, right? Because the culture is on the continent, there is still an aspect of the culture that is practiced by brothers and sisters on the continent. And to them, that's their day-to-day life, right? But to us, that's a defiance of white supremacy and a connection to our ancestors. And brothers and sisters on the continent don't see it like that. You know, they don't see jollof rice, as a defiance of white supremacy. They don't see it like that. But we do. We like, I'm not eating the white man's food no more. You see what I'm saying? And this is what it comes, this is how it is with us. And we wear the clothes because this is a sign of our reconnection to our ancestry and our heritage and a defiance to white supremacy and colonialism. On the continent, that's just the clothes we wear. So they don't see walking around in that. Let me tell you an experience I had in Senegal. And I was so mad. This is like very few times that I got mad and expressed. I was walking in Senegal with one of my friends from Senegal. And we were walking and we walked past another brother that was from Gambia. And he obviously saw me and my other friends, because I was with two other friends that was there. He obviously saw us and knew we were not from Africa. But my friend who's from Senegal, he knew that he was from Africa. So he asked him where he was from when in the conversation we talked. And he says, I'm from here. I'm from Senegal. And he said, you don't look like you're from Senegal. And that sparked an argument and they started going back and forth. And I'm sitting there listening and I get mad and I step in between the two of them and I say, shut up. Y'all both need to bow down to me with y'all FUBU wearing behinds. Y'all look like y'all somebody from New York. Y'all both need to be bowing down to me. I was like, I'm the only one standing here in African clothes. I was like, you arguing about some stuff that you didn't even create. I was like, there's no such thing as Senegal and there's no such thing as Gambia. White men created them daggone things. Y'all the same people. You speak the same daggone language. Cut it out. But you see what I'm saying? Here it is. These brothers is arguing with each other about whether they look African or not while they're dressed in African American style clothes, right? And they're arguing about this in Olaf, their traditional language. They're not arguing about it in English, right? And I'm sitting up here, the only one in African clothes. But this is the thing, this is the thing. And this is what's important and what we're going to have to teach, and we're going to have to bring to Liberia, and we're going to have to bring to Ghana, that we must understand oppression and what that has done to us as a people, and I think that is what's kind of missing in the continent, the real understanding of oppression, because it's not in their face as much as it is for us.
All right.
And that's why
okay. No, finish up, please.
I'm just saying that's why you would experience that. That's why when you go to Africa, when you come to the United States, you see us all walking around in African clothes and all of that, and trying to find the African restaurants so we can get jollof rice and goosey and all of the. That's what's happening. Because some chebuchin from Senegal, I can throw down on some chebuchin. Oh my God, man! Please.
Okay. So I have just been informed by the studio that we are still live on the radio, so that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Madam Claudia, do you have any comment or question?
The only thing I wanted to say was that the whole emotion that's attached to this Pan-African I don't want to say belief, because it almost looks like a religion,
Mm-hmm.
like how they have Rastafarians. But like you talked about the Nation of Islam, and like you stated, it was original and authentic when Malcolm X was a part of it, but since then it has generated into its own character. And I think that's solely responsible. What makes that way is the fact that a lot of people go to prison, and in prison they literally study Moorish science and Sunni. And I know that the Nation of Islam has, with no passion, have any interest in the Caucasian, the white. They don't allow the white worship in their mosques. Opposed to Sunni, who will even allow you to marry someone of a different race. And the Moorish science is more so a science, like more so of a conscience of the Muslim religion. So now when we talk about what you follow, what's your take? Are you prejudiced? I don't mean this. I so apologize. I don't mean to sound so harsh, and it's not a personal question. It's a question.
No,
what's your feeling?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
It's okay. I just need to just give me an understanding what you mean by am I prejudiced? It's okay for you to say that. I don't have a problem. I'm just not understanding what you mean by it. So give me an understanding of what you mean by that. You mean, do I like white people or do I don't like white people?
Yeah. Do you have white relatives? Yes. Do you have white relatives? Do you have a very close white friend? How does the white?
Okay, very good.
Yeah,
very good.
I just want to know your relationship with the white.
Very good question.
And in general, your whole belief, your whole Pan-African.
Right. My belief is when I explain it, most people will probably see it as I'm prejudiced, but I don't see it that way. And I'm going to try to explain it as clearly as I can. I believe, I'm going to compare it. I'm going to make the comparison about our experience to a psychological condition, right? We are kidnapped victims. Watch this. Even Africans on the continent are kidnapped victims, right? And we've been kidnapped by someone who has taken us from our family and totally twisted our consciousness around who we are and our identity, right? And we've slowly developed this psychological processing and thinking that relates very closely to our kidnapper. Now, when a person is taken when they're saved from a kidnapper, or like saved from an occult society. So when they find some kidnapped child and that has been with this person for a certain amount of years, and they take that child and they save that child from that person. When they introduce that child to their family, and now they have the kidnapper in custody, the psychologist that sits and relates with that child, the thing that they recommend or even almost impose and tell the family is that child can never have a connection with their kidnapper. They have to be totally separated from their kidnapper in order to be effectively reorientated towards their original ideology or identity from their family. That child's now life has to be dictated and dealt with by the family, and they can never have a connection with that kidnapper. Nothing about the kidnapper. They can't go back to where the kidnapper held them. They can't do anything related or connected to that kidnapper. They totally separated from that person. Because now, in order for that person to regain their original identity, they must go back and relate with their family and get that original identity back. That's how I function. I think that in order for African people to save their mind, we need to totally try to separate from white people. Right? We can't go back to our original mind marrying white people. So I'm against marrying white people, but I'm not walking around here because white people is the devil. No. In order for us to heal and go back to our original mind, every aspect of our lives has to be African. Because we have to reconnect to the value of what that is. And we can't do that if we marry into our oppressor's family. And this is the way that I live my life. I set it out for my children. I was like, you cannot bring someone white back into this family. I said, I ain't gonna necessarily get mad and throw you out, but I'm letting you know right now, I'm gonna have a problem with it. But I teach them why. I teach them that we have to heal from oppression. We have to heal from oppression, and we cannot heal from oppression connecting to our oppressor in any fashion or form. That's why when brother asked me about preaching, that's why I'm not going to preach from the Bible. I'm not showing nothing valuable from the European culture. because we have to submerge ourselves into being African and what African is. I'm not walking around here, saying the white man's a devil, even though that is a very good argument, but I'm not walking around here saying that. I am recognizing the reality. Every aspect and dealings we have with white culture, it has been the destruction of our own. And so I take the stand that in order for me to rebuild, our children need, no matter how bad of a relationship I may have with one African woman, I will never marry a white woman. Why? Because I need to heal from oppression, and I need to submerge myself in African life, and my children and other children need to see loving African relationships. And this is the only way we're going to be able to fight white supremacy. Not, I don't marry a white woman because the white man's the devil. No, that's not. I don't say that. I'm not marrying a white woman because I can't heal myself and African people by connecting to the oppressor. You see?
Yes, understood. But in as much, it appears as if
Can I add something real quick? And then I want you to say
yes.
Let me go back to why Black folks are so heavily, Black folks in America be African culture, and brothers and sisters in Africa not. Even though we the majority of African people in America kind of fight this idea, but still this is a reality, right? It is not looked at as strange in Africa for someone African to marry someone white. But let me marry a white woman. I guarantee you some Black women somewhere that I go is going to have a problem with it. And that is because in our experience in the diaspora, the contradiction of oppression is so real that we've developed this thing around marrying the oppressor. Where in Africa, that's not there. People don't see people marrying someone white as problematic. But this is, so this is, I just wanted to add that to that understanding. And this is my thing. So I don't marry, I don't deal with, I have a friend from long time ago that is white that I used to work with, that I'm still, that I would be friendly with if I see him, but he's not involved in my day-to-day life. He's never met my children or anything like that. I wouldn't bring him into my life that closely, because we have to heal from the wounds of oppression. All right, go to your question. All right, go what you're gonna say.
And I just wanted to add something, that Collier will come back. I see the Indian ask people to marry in their own culture. I see the Nigerian people marry in their own culture. I see the European people marry in their own culture. But when it comes to Africa or African brothers and sisters, and I would say our Liberian female don't feel anything wrong. Every other nationality love Liberian women. I see that in America. But when I want to marry other nationality or be with other, they don't agree. But it's so accessible to our women. I just wanted to bring that in the discussion, and Collier can continue. Liberian women be with any kind of people from any culture. They love our women. But we going in the other culture around is very difficult. I just wanted to put that in the discussion.
Let's give a praise and a moment of silence for Liberian women. Now, I just want to thank their ancestors.
I know, but it appears as if I'm not saying this is my opinion, but I'm just thinking. Do you think that
It's
that could
fine
be
if
the
it's your
reason why?
opinion, sister.
Okay. Do you think that's why your Pan-African revolution, your whole bringing a culture, bringing a heritage, is not really strongholding because people are afraid that it will bring a lot of prejudice, it will bring a lot of separation, segregation, because you're trying to remind people of what happened in the past. That's the only way you can get your message across. So that's what I feel. And I have a question after that. Oh, okay. I think his line dropped. You're muted.
Yeah, I think he dropped all by mistake. You probably hit the other. He's back. Good. All right. He's almost back. Okay, there you go.
I'm sorry. I'm back. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Claudia, you want to repeat a question?
Okay. No, I heard a question.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, I heard a question. Yes, that is a part of it. But what we have to understand, the reason that we feel that way is due to the colonization and the mental enslavement that we received. White men said that Pan-Africanism is racist. Pan-Africanism don't promote killing no white folks. Pan-Africanism don't promote the thing that, we don't even say, which a lot of people may connect us to, we don't say what the Nation of Islam says. Pan-Africanism do not say that the white man is the devil. Those aren't things we say. What we talk about and what we deal with is the importance of us connecting and believing and practicing African culture and tradition. But the oppressor who is afraid of African Americans truly identifying and connecting with Africans from the continent, because that will shift and change a whole paradigm. They make Pan-Africanism racist. And so because we're still confused about reality by our oppressor, then a lot of African people perceive Pan-Africanism as being racist and prejudiced. And then there's the next thing, right? I can't remember who brought it up. I think Fred, I think you might have brought it up about how these Pan-African leaders are killed and persecuted, right? A rap group called Public Enemy has a statement in one of their songs called Fight the Power, and they say freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be, right? So in other words, I can be Pan-Africanist and I can stand up and start talking to African people about unifying and being African and all of that if I want to. Then white supremacy and white society is going to come after me, right? I'm not a punk, so I don't care. So I do this and I speak. But that is something that has consistently been revealed, right? Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Medgar Evers, we can go down the line, Fannie Lou Hamer, we can go down the line, Patrice Lumumba, Thomas Sankara, Nkrumah. We can just run them off list after list of how white society came after our leaders that is simply talking about African self-respect and African dignity. So you are right. I think that it doesn't become popular because of how the society will respond, but that is a problem. We have to be willing to fight for our dignity. We got to do, like, nobody calls Jewish people Jewish centric and say pan Jewishism. Nobody says that, because everybody has the understanding that Jewish people is going to be for Jewish people, no matter what anyone says. And that's the same way we got to be. So yes, it hasn't caught on because people do see it as racist and even dogmatic, where we have views and point of views that have no concrete justification. We just think like that because that's what Pan-Africanism is. That's what African-centered thought is. People just say the same thing because they align themselves with the thought. Not that people are taking stands around certain things because there's some very real, concrete rationale for it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Hey, I just have one final question because it's very late in Liberia. It's like 12:32.
Okay.
Just to add to that, yes, Pan-African is seen as almost like a loony, like the movie Boys in the Hood, when they had this one Pan-African character and he was literally killed off the show like immediately. And whenever he tried to preach, people were like, "Oh man, go sit down." It was an irritating character in the movie. So society just know that it's literally an irritating movement that more people. We look at it like a prison-related revolution, like that's something you acquire being locked up. You hate the judge, hate your lawyer, you hate every white CEO that has to lock you in. So my question to you is, have you ever been locked up? Because you talked a lot about the religion of Islam. You know it so well, and I know that that's a religion that people who have been incarcerated are really, notable. So that's
I've been sent to jail for a traffic violation. No, I've never been locked up. One of my very closest friends is in the Nation of Islam, and we've been friends since we were like 17, 18 years old. And and we talk about, and I'm always having this criticism of the nation, and we have this thing, and I'm always telling him, I was like, if the Honorable Elijah Muhammad used an African tradition to fuel the nation, I was like, bro, do you understand where we would be now? If the Nation of Islam used an African tradition? And he always laughed. He would say we would be nowhere because black folks ain't gonna respect African tradition. I was like, well, it ain't like black folks like Islam either. But he was able to take this very spiritual belief system that black folks didn't like, and then create an extremely strong organization dealing with it. I was like, so if he promoted the same Pan-African self-respect kind of thing and he just connected it to African culture, bro, it'd be a different light. And I was like, but no, he wanted to be an Asiatic black man. I was like, all right, but that's the problem. But all that history is connected. The Moorish Science Temple, Nation of Islam, 5 Percenters, the New Wabians, they're all coming from the same kind of lineage background. They, starting with the Moorish Science Temple with Noble Drew Ali.
So have you thought this is my I'm not going to say anything again. Have you ever thought
No, Clint, go
about
ahead. You're going to say more. Go ahead.
okay? Have you ever thought about using the same mechanisms that the Moorish science, all the other Muslim religious background people use in getting their
Yeah,
messages across to the
that's
religion, selling meat pies,
yeah,
bean pies, when it comes to
yeah,
gang wars and all kind of baba thing then that
yeah,
happen in America. It's always the
yeah,
Moorish signs, Sunni, the Nation Islam that come in and say, hey, put your guns
right.
down and people listen. So have you thought
Well,
about trying that for the Pan Africans?
that's interesting. We've tried it in several times. But there is an issue with being Pan-Africanist, particularly since a lot of Pan-Africanists are promoting traditional African culture. And the common person, it's difficult for them to be Pan-Africanist and particularly dealing with African spiritual tradition because the society makes it hard for them to deal with life on a day-to-day basis. See, I could be Islam and be functional on a day-to-day basis and be Islam. And I sure enough can be Christian and do that because there are Pan-Africanist Christian organizations, the Shrine of the Black Madonna and First Africa Church and Sankofa Baptist Church. So there are very Pan-Africanist Christian organizations. So but I could do that. That's easy. Ain't nobody gonna have no problem with me walking in the church with walking up in the work with a cross on. But when I walk in the church when I go into to work with these beads, that's a whole different story and different kinds of things that we have to deal with in African tradition. And most Black folks, and particularly our children, don't like that struggle. So we can try to use the kinds of tactics that the Nation of Islam and those organizations have done, but because of the type of struggle that people will have to deal with if they become Pan-Africanists and things like that, they don't want to struggle with it. And that's just an issue that we're gonna have to fight to get over. What I'm getting ready to do, real quick, what I'm getting ready to do here in the United States is, the Greek letter organizations, Alpha Phi Alpha, Delta Sigma Theta. Well, I'm planning to start an African organization like that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it the same flavor and swag that the Greek letter organizations have, and but we're going to teach Pan-Africanism inside the organization. And me and my friends that are organizing it, we think that will be an extremely good instrument to teach our people. And we think it will spread around the United States, and we want to bring it to Africa too. Now, and I think, but if I was to do, like you said, what you asked me, I think I could do that in Africa. I think I could do it in Africa and it'll work. I think I could do it in Africa, but in the United States, it'll be extremely difficult. I hope I answered your question.
Definitely, because when you say Pan-African, Africa, everybody says they don't want to be when you say Africa, they think about flies flying over our heads. They think about all kinds
Yeah,
of Africans.
yeah.
Nobody want to be African. Nobody want to be
And
Italian.
then no
If you
one,
call it
yeah.
pan black, you say pan blackian or something. Pan say pan Shaka Zulu, it will hold. But you say African. Nobody in the beat. You wear a cross,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
that's home.
yeah,
But the beat,
yeah,
they're like, oh my God, he's been to Africa. He's African. He got the flies, you
yeah.
know. So when you say
Yeah.
Pan Africa, it's Africa, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's all about
Mm-hmm.
Africa.
Yeah.
So have you ever
That
thought
is so
about
true.
spreading the messages through artists? You got Akon, you have Burna Boy, you have all these sophisticated
Yeah.
African artists, Tima, all those guys that are making headlines. Have you ever tried to engage them to join the movement, or anybody that
Ye-
has that celebrity, sentiment that
Yeah.
could help?
I've only had a connection with Ludacris, T.I., and Public Enemy. But my connection with them is not strong. So I can't be consistent to actually then even give them ideas on certain things to do or affect their direction of their music. I just don't have that strong of a connection with them. But when I did speak to them, they sat down and they listened. But then after that conversation, there's
You
no
heard that?
follow up or anything like that.
And have you ever thought about empowering maybe one of your members? I know you have a lot of talent. You have actors, you have people that have a lot
Mm-hmm.
of skills that could be promoted through social media, just like the LGBT community. They have
Oh
artists,
shoot.
they have actors, actresses
Yeah,
that are
yeah.
pushing it out
I,
there,
I that's a good suggestion. I'm going to talk to my friends about it. One of our problems with the Pan African movement is some of our artists, they're just not good. They're just not good. Like we don't have a let's see we don't have, like, Kendrick Lamar is, we ain't got no Kendrick Lamar in our movement. I wish we did. We don't have who's a good female singing artist. Oh, whoa, no, we do. We just got to get her in the circuit. We do have a singing artist where she sounds really good, you know. But the main thing is why Pan-African thoughts and ideas aren't popular in the culture through the music is we don't have good songwriters and good beat makers. Yeah, if we did, we would be there. But today, there's very few of them. But I'm gonna start talking about that, though. Most definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that brings me to this is a good segue to my question.
Mm-hmm.
We have had a lot of good leaders
Yes.
over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Malcolm,
Mm-hmm.
Martin,
Mm-hmm.
and many others. It seems like we have gone through a period of lost decades since
Mm-hmm.
the passing of these luminaries.
Mm-hmm.
What would you attribute that to? Why have we not been able to raise among us the Malcolm, the Martin? Why?
Okay. This is
Why the
interesting.
future looks so bleak? Why?
There's a few reasons for this, but one thing that I'm going to say is our music was dumbed down tremendously. I could probably pinpoint the month and probably really get close in the period when we went from KRS-One to 2 Live Crew. That switch happened while I was in college. I literally was walking 1 month reciting Public Enemy lyrics, and the next month wondering where in the world did 2 Live Crew come from. That's how quick and fast it changed. Now, that was intentional. That was intentional. In the 1980s, we had Public Enemy, X-Clan, KRS-One, De La Soul, Poor Righteous Teachers, Kool Moe Dee. We had all of these rappers that were very positive, right? That were better than Kendrick Lamar, right? And when you bought their CDs, they had a book list printed on the CD, letting you know what books they were reading, right? At the time these rappers were out and doing that, Black folks was wearing Malcolm X hats and Africa, red, black, and green Africa medallions. This was all over. And instantaneously it stopped. And we got NWA, 2 Live Crew, and what's the other one? OPP, whoever sings that. And our music went, and it rapidly degenerated, and that switch happened in about 1989, 1990. By 1995,
Naughty by Nature.
Naughty by Nature, yes. What's his name?
Trench.
I kept saying it with an F. I kept saying Fletch in my mind, but I was like, that's not right. Tretch and all of them, right? But by 1995, we had Snoop, right? Regardless of how, their rap skills, we're not going to deny the rap skills, but the content of the music is what we're talking about, right? Biggie Smalls, even Tupac had an issue. Tupac was struggling with 2 different consciousness, from being raised by Black Panthers, but yet talking about thug life, right? And this whole thing just degenerated, right? To the point where the concept of in the African American community, the idea of keeping it real, right? Keeping it real. I'm going to keep it real was acting like a thug and a gangster off of the streets. If you didn't act like that, then you wasn't keeping it real. You see what I'm saying? And this degenerative way, because we the only group of people that glorify our degenerative behavior, right? Black women in early 1980, their so-called loving reference for each other was not the B word, right? And so this whole concept and this degenerative idea that was just being pumped and promoted to our people devalued our consciousness and our understanding, our children, right? And we had to fight that. And we just didn't know, as a group of people, we just didn't know how to do it. We didn't understand the psychological science that was being, acted out upon us. And so the consciousness and the minds and the agenda of the people went to degenerative behavior and surface and superficial materialism. And that ain't going to produce a Malcolm. That's not going to produce a Martin. That's not going to produce that. And so we don't have them. They're dying off. Dr. Smalls is 80 something years old, and they're dying off. I just happen to come out of a generation that's what they were doing, but and that's what's happening. And so, yeah, so we're not producing that anymore, because the whole consciousness and agenda of the society is surface, superficial, material, individualistic consciousness.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I have my own theory as to why, but we're gonna have to get you back here, Brother Bakan, for another episode. We got 8 minutes to shut down. 8 minutes to shut down.
No problem.
So what I'm gonna do now, let me just go around and ask each one of the panelists if they have just last question or the comment before I come back to you, so you close up on this. Veteran Smith, do you have any comment or question?
Yes. I like when the question about the best of us, since Africa, the leadership with the people. And sometimes we have good leaders, but those leaders never come to the presidency. And the continent of Africa seems to be lacking of that leadership. But when we have it, they get rid of those leaders.
Yeah.
How do we protect our leader? I see the people in Burkina Faso doing a good leader, doing a good job in protecting their leader.
Yeah.
How it took so long for Burkina Faso to develop that way of protecting their leader. So many times they try to assassinate him, and it just don't work.
Yeah, they're trying to.
Where can we learn? When can we learn from Burkina Faso? So those who are good leaders can take the seat.
Yes, I think it is very important that we look at Burkina Faso and we study that, because I am still surprised that President Ibrahim is still alive. I'm like, wow, and what we have to do, the best way to protect a leader like Traore is the love of the people. The people must show and must display deep love for our leader. We have to show that, because the powers that be will be scared to kill him because of how the people will react. And one thing that is keeping President Ibrahim alive is the abundance of love that are showing him globally, right? Because there were groups of people here that did a march holding his name up, in France holding his name up, and in Burkina Faso. So we have to, if we love our leaders, we have to show it. We have to show it. I remember when Minister Farrakhan was out. He was speaking and all of that, and it was right after his statement about Hitler being a great man. And he spoke about how there was these threats, and what he said was, he was like, those threats is not for me. They're not showing me their power. And he said, their threats, that threat of to take my life is about you. And he's talking to us. He was like, they're saying I can kill your leader and there's nothing you will do about it. And he's like, so that is the question. What are you going to do when they kill me? And this is the thing that we have to learn and get our children to do. We got to get our children, our youth, and everyone else to realize that when we have a leader that we all love, we got to love him or her. We got to love it, because I like her Ariana. I can't remember her last name. Sister from, I think she's from somewhere from Uganda or Kenya, and she's the head of ADDI. I don't know if y'all look her up. She's
from Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe. Yes. Yeah. Yes. So these are people that we gotta protect, and we gotta show that we were willing to protect them. We not playing with European Western society. You're not gonna be coming up in here and just killing our people in front of our face. Right? In front of our face.
All right. Yeah. So our dear brother Bakan, let me try calling the name again. Priest Johannes Bakan Bediako.
You missed one name, and it's Johann.
Yow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in the last 2 minutes that we have, my dear brother, I want to say thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome.
And give us your patent comments, and we'll look forward to having you on the platform another time.
Yes. My thing is for us to understand that we are in a society that is governed by a very destructive system, which is a system of global white supremacy, or what I like to call rich European male dominant Christian cultural terroristic exploitism. That is what it is. And the best way to set yourself up to start dealing with it is never be afraid to go and understand where the truth takes you. Don't deny reality because of how you feel, because that protects that society, that protects it. So let's have courageous honesty and be courageous enough to go wherever the data, the information, and the facts takes us. Let's go there, because that's what's going to give us our freedom. That's what's going to help us create the lifestyle, away from oppression.
All righty. Thank you. That's all the time we have. Brother Johannes Bediako, thank you so much, and we look forward to having you again on another episode of the show.
Yes, I would like to come back.
Having you, sir. Thank you so much for all the knowledge you get tonight.
All right. You're welcome.
All right. Veteran Smith, That all the time we have for the night, man. It's 9 o'clock. The studio got to close.
Tomorrow is Palm Sunday.
What does that mean?
Oh, Palm Sunday
Oh, Palm Sunday.
is very yeah.
Okay.
So it's important for the Christian. The church will be packed tomorrow. The palms will be so green. Everybody will wear green tomorrow in church. So I just wanted to say that Palm Sunday, and then after Palm Sunday, then we go to restoration. No, we go to how you call it? Say Friday. How do you call that one with Judas? Betray our Lord and Savior, and he was executed, and then you go to Resurrection Sunday, which is considered Easter, then Easter Monday. I just trying to show you all what we have been talking about. Tomorrow is Palm Sunday, where our Lord and Savior, and going through that, he knew he was going to die when he entered Jerusalem and the trial that he went through. Then you have Friday when Judah betrayed our Lord and Savior. And then you go to Resurrection Sunday, which is Easter. And then you have Easter Monday. Most of the students will not be in school in Liberia. So this is the most religious time for Christianity, and I just want to start with Palm Sunday tomorrow. It's all right, you left? Okay.